The NASCAR season is defined by streaks, good or bad. But each race stands alone, and these drivers couldn't be further removed from last week. From Daytona, where brakes are what fate hands you, to New Hampshire, where brakes are what get you through the corners. The continued rise of Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart can't be banked on here, nor can a bad slide be treated as more than just leaving that turn behind. It will take a new strategy and a new attitude to remain in the race for the chase in New Hampshire.
NASCAR on TNT, live in Loudon, New Hampshire. It's the 19th race of the season for the Sprint Cup Series. When we come back here in September, it will be round 2 of the chase. Today, a preview of what we could see in the playoffs. And we have got a gorgeous afternoon for racing. 84 degrees. The humidity is up. Partly cloudy skies, not expecting any rain today. Track position is important. With that, we take a look at our starting grid. On the pole, first pole of the season for defending series champion Brad Keselowski, and alongside a 3-time New Hampshire winner, Kurt Busch. Row 2, Dale Earnhardt Jr. matching his career best start here at New Hampshire, and Kyle Busch, who won this event back in 2006. Jeff Gordon, a 3-time winner on row 3, with Carl Edwards, who was a runner-up here 7 years ago. Martin Truex Jr. starts in the 19th position. Let's hear from him. Kyle?
Martin Truex, this is Kyle Petty in the TNT booth. Can you hear me?
That's Kyle.
Hey, man, you did a great job in the booth yesterday. But reading some of the tweets and things that have been put out there over the last day or so, Brad K says the Michael Waltrip racing cars are pretty tough. How's your car today?
Feel pretty good about our Napa Toyota. We've got batteries and intrepid fallen heroes in the car, and we want to do a good job for those guys. But yeah, we've got a decent car, I think. Our speeds, our lap times were really good yesterday. I wasn't completely happy with the way the car was turning, but you know, this place is all about track position, and if we can get towards the front, I think we got the speed to stay there.
Hey, man, watching that all-access piece on TNT, those fish weren't very big that you caught. I hope you catch something a little bit bigger today, man. Good luck.
Yeah, they weren't much to talk about, but hey, it was better than nothing. I appreciate you guys letting me do that, and have some fun today. Appreciate you riding along.
We thank Martin for all his time this week, and now we make a sweep down the pit lane. One final time before we go green, starting off with Ralph Shaheen.
You know, Adam, when you're working down here on pit road, you kind of fear days when it's warm like today, especially guys like the crew guys and the NASCAR officials in those hot fire suits. The one guy who woke up this morning, saw the temperature, and got excited was Tony Stewart. And the hotter the day gets, the more he likes it. Everybody on the team I talked to says they love the fact the heat's going up, his foot's going down. He plans on going to the front, Chris Neville.
Ralph, in 6 of the last 7 weeks, Clint Boyer has had top 10s and slid nicely into second place. I talked to crew chief Brian Patty earlier today, and he said that has been great for us. We are going to stay consistent right now. He's going to play risk manager, and the bread and butter this next couple months is going to be top 10s. He said we looked at what the 5-car did in the last few weeks, and our boy does not like the pressure of whether or not he's going to get into the chase. Marty?
Well, Chris, for 2 years, this guy over my shoulder, Steve Letart's been telling me we have to get better qualifying for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and this 88 team. Mission accomplished in the last month. They start third today, Adam, and Junior told me moments ago, I honestly think we have a chance to win this thing this afternoon.
Thanks, Marty. And now our Geico race analysis for today's event here in New England. 301 laps make up the 318 miles. Pit road speed 45 miles per hour. You see the pit window, 68 to 74 laps. That could be big. It's not uncommon here to have a cycle of green flag pit stops. A weekend off next week for the Sprint Cup Series, but today trying to finish off a long run. 15th consecutive weekend they've been on track. Front row at New Hampshire, Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch. Green flag in the air, and we are underway. Stepping out of line, looking to the inside of Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon in that mix. Brad Keselowski leads lap 1. Kurt Busch behind him, and Kyle is on the move through the corner.
We talk about it every week. You've got to get as much as you can when they start these things or on these restarts. And Kyle's taking advantage these first couple of laps of these guys getting hung on the outside a little bit.
Kyle Busch started fourth, picked up third from Dale Jr., and now in the runner-up position going around older brother Kurt. The 18 appears to be hooked up early.
Yeah, he's in a hurry. But boy, like Kyle said, this is the time to try to make hay if you can. Every lap you run on these tires, the cars get worse and worse as far as handling goes.
But Kyle, this race only 301 laps, so I'm assuming the urgency level pretty high for all the drivers.
It is for everybody. We talked about Jimmy Johnson in the opening, starting at the back and having to be aggressive on pit calls. You know, this could be a 3 or 4 stop race when you really get into it. So gambling on pit calls is have an accident down in turn 1.
Turn 1 and the first accident of the day. Joey Logano got turned around starting outside the top 20. Disappointment early last week at Daytona. Cut the tire and hit the wall, and once again the native New Englander going to have to try and battle back from some adversity. He hit it pretty hard up in turns 1 and 2. He was running 23rd when he went around and hit the wall.
He was involved in a little bit of contact yesterday during the nationwide race. They went 3 wide into turn 3. We'll see what happens here.
Watch left of your screen.
Oh, he's out of shape before he ever got to the corner.
And now an onboard look from the Shell Pinwheel
down there. Barely down there. Inside.
That's still hard to tell if you got any help or not on that. You can see the car just jump a little bit loose there, but it's just hard to tell if somebody got in his left rear or not.
Yeah, it is. And you heard the spotters say inside, and you saw the car wiggle a little bit, so you don't know whether he came down or whether he just was outside the groove.
Play AT&T's Fastest Driver Challenge by calling **Fast from your mobile phone to predict who will have the fastest times today. Brought to you by the nation's fastest 4G LTE network, AT&T Rethink Possible. One year ago at New Hampshire, in this race, we had 3 cautions all day long. 4 laps into today. We've already got our first, and it's for Joey Logano, who got turned around in turns 1 and 2. He has taken his car to the garage. The helmet is off. He's climbing out, and certainly an enormous amount of disappointment for a team that also had problems early last week at Daytona. And this is when he was driving off of the pit lane.
Yeah, you watch at the right rear. He spins the car around and just catches the tire changer, and it hit his elbow pretty hard.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell if it looked like maybe it got his left knee and hip too.
It got a little bit of everything. That hurt.
Yeah, he's a little bit upset with Joey right there. Joey needed to spin the car around, felt like he did, to get it headed back in the right direction.
Well, you're mad. You're sitting there. You're pretty ticked off, and
yeah, but you got to be careful with those guys on pit road, because they're doing a job for you, and you got to protect them. It's your job to protect them. I'm going to finish my thought on the 48 car. My point was there's not a lot of caution or not a lot of pit stops in this race. So to say we're going to be aggressive on pit stop strategy and aggressive on what we do to get our man to the front, a lot of it's going to fall on Jimmy Johnson's shoulders to physically pass cars on the racetrack, because you're only going to get a few shots at playing out some type of pit strategy.
And if a caution comes about every 15 or 20 laps, that's going to help as well, because that closes a gap in between him and it gains him that track position back.
It gains him distance.
Yeah.
Yes.
He started 43rd. He'll be 35th on this restart. You see him here right alongside Landon Castle. The race leader, Brad Keselowski. First caution of the day is cleaned up. Brad chooses the inside lane. We go back green as we complete lap 9.
I think he's going to have to fight hard to keep that spot, because that 18 car's hooked up.
Doesn't matter where he is. Power move on the outside. Put Kyle Busch to the race lead.
Yeah, he has picked up exactly where he left off on the last lap of the nationwide race yesterday, just powering around people on the outside and making stuff happen.
Brad a little loose coming off of turn 2. That's what you love about restarts here. You see him going double file through the corners. As Kyle said earlier, you got to get all you can get at this stage. Let's go to the garage and Marty Snyder.
Joey Logano out of the car, and that's early to be out of this race. What happened?
It's tire failure. 2 weeks in a row. Right front last week, left rear tire this week. I'm not very impressed right now with our tire. It's kind of frustrating that 2 weeks in a row we have that. But, it didn't touch anyone. It just blew out. So same thing happened to one car in practice. So just 2 weeks in a row with 2 big hits in the points. So we really got our work cut out for it now.
He mentions that big points hit. That's going to be tough for these guys trying to make it into the chase. It was Jay Hackney, his rear tire changer, that he did hit. And I talked to Jay. He's fine, guys. So just wanted to give you that report as well, Adam.
Well, you know, one thing that you have to keep in consideration is the low pressures that these guys run in the tires, and that could be some of the problem with, with the tire going down as well.
Hey, Wally, there's no question. If you have a tire failure on lap 5, either you ran over something and cut it, but we saw his teammate Brad Keselowski in practice yesterday in that 2-car. The left rear air pressure was so low, the sidewall was wrinkled. They run very low air pressure all the way around, but especially in those left side tires. I've known of teams starting them off maybe at 9 or 10 PSI.
Yeah, Larry, and we can get that shot, especially going into 3. If you look at the left rear of these tires, they're all crinkled. They look like they're flat going down in there, and we got trouble on
Problems
straightaway.
again, front straightaway.
Ambrose.
Marcus Ambrose involved, and
Mears.
some other drivers got damage, including, as you said, Casey Mears, who had no place to go. Second caution, 14 laps in.
And this is the stuff that plays into Jimmy Johnson's hands. Yeah. He's up to 25th now, and now he gains all, like Kyle said, that distance on the leader. So this is good stuff for them.
Ambrose was running in the 20th position. At the front of the field.
Well, these guys are getting tore up early.
Yeah, and Casey had nowhere to go. Marcus was in the middle of the racetrack, had most of the racetrack blocked, and Casey just...
And there was like 3 wide coming out of 4, so...
Here's a replay of what happened off of turn 4 and coming toward the start-finish line.
You see them going into turn 3 there. They 3 wide for a moment, and then they get out, spread back in.
And the 9 is...
Oh.
Well, it looks like Harvick basically just booted him on that one.
I'd say Harvick just took him out right there. They got together a little bit, and this Harvick drove into him and stayed into him.
Yeah, you watch right here. You can get off a guy when he's getting a little bit loose, and Harvick decided he wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
Allmendinger got a little damage, too. Watch Almirola and Stenhouse sneak through unscathed. Wow.
Yeah, you're right. AJ did get a little bit of that.
If we can see that shot again, I want to show you who really snuck through, too, is that 48 car on the inside. They're right in front of him. Bad qualifying, put in a hole to begin with, and here these guys wreck in front of him, and he's right there next to that inside wall, just sneaking by.
We're 14 laps in. Jimmy Johnson started 43rd, and because of what you just said, the 5-time champion now running 25th at New Hampshire. Under caution for the second time early at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It all got started off at turn 4 when Marcus Ambrose went around. There was contact with Kevin Harvick. Here's the reaction on 29 Team Radio.
Kept coming down. Yeah, it barely touched him. But, I mean, I'm not giving in to that guy. That guy's a weapon every week. So, I just held my line, and he drove across the front of my nose.
I think it was more than, boy, you look at that right front fender on the 29 car. It was a little bit more than just a touch. And look, there's some damage there.
Yeah, and look, we drove race cars. The pictures don't always match the words. How you see it from the driver's seat is not always the way it is on the outside of the car.
That's the political thing you say when you're a driver. You took somebody out.
Yes, just barely touched it.
We'll update the situation with Jimmy Johnson when we come back. Cleanup continues at New Hampshire Speedway. Our second caution of the day, and we have documented several times and will continue to watch the progress of Jimmy Johnson. Started 43rd. Here's what Chad Knaus said to the team before today's race.
Remember, guys, we can't win this thing on the first lap. We've got to be smart. We've got to take our time on the racetrack. We've got to be smart in the pits. Jimmy, Earl, you guys got to be smart on the racetrack. Watch what you got going on. Just pay attention all the way around us. 301 laps. We got a lot of time to get to the front. No reason why we can't get back up there, guys, and get ourselves a good, solid finish.
And here's a good example of Earl Earl Barber, the 48 spotter, and Jimmy Johnson doing just that. This was a great call. Jimmy was way down on the inside of the racetrack to miss this, but that's where a spotter pays off.
Yeah, and a lot of guys made it through that wreck. A lot of people made it through that wreck. We keep talking about Jimmy because, remember, he qualified second, was disallowed, and had to start at the back. He's got a shot at winning these races. These guys that he's passing right now, I'm not sure how much of a shot that some of them have.
He made a pit stop under caution, restarts 31st. Kyle Busch shoots out of a cannon to grab the lead on the restart. By Tracy Early, Dale Earnhardt Jr. inside of Jeff Gordon. They're battling for fourth on track. Matt Kenseth right behind him. He's moved up quite well in the early going. Started 12th, and he finds himself inside the top 10. Jimmy Johnson restarted 31st, had been as high as 25th, but they elected to come down pit road there under caution, Larry.
Well, Adam, this is what you and I talked about at the very beginning of the Countdown to Green pre-race show. They're trying to get off sequence. In their perfect world, we'll go about 15 to 20 laps here and get another caution, knowing most of the leaders will pit. Then that 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, they will stay out.
And always a tactical general on top of the box. You could hear no panic and how smart they are looking at the overall picture of this race. After the first caution, Jimmy was asked, how good is the race car and can he get up through the pack easily? You could hear the confidence in Jimmy's voice. He said, absolutely, shouldn't be a problem.
And Matt, he wasn't the only one to come down and make a pit stop under caution at lap 15. Eric Almirola did the same. So did Martin Truex Jr. And Truex, the best of that group, scored in the 25th position right now. Johnson for another spot inside of J.J. Yaley.
And that's why these guys are so good at what they're doing. When they come from the back, is that they are patient. You just watch the way the 48 is approaching each car. He's giving them plenty of room. He's not forcing the issue. He's got time yet.
There's Harvick and Biffle for 17th and 18th. McMurray and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. right behind him, Matt.
More necessity than going for a strategy move. The 56 team of Martin Truex Jr. He had debris on the grill. Water was climbing. It was over 265 degrees, so they took the chance to clean the grill. And also an update for you on Martin's little friend Austin. After our all-access piece aired, Kelly Earnhardt, Dale Jr.'s sister, texted Sherry Pollock and said, no worries, tell your little buddy some Dale Jr. diecast is on the way.
The drivers in the NASCAR garage do a whole lot of good for a whole lot of people. And certainly in our all-access piece today, we found that out about Martin Truex Jr. In front of him, 2000 Series champion Bobby Labonte to the inside of David Gilliland. That's for 22nd. Already 2 cautions today. The second for Marcus Ambrose after contact with Kevin Harvick. He continues to sit in the garage. Scored right now in the 42nd position. Marty?
Adam, yes, both Marcos Ambrose and Casey Mears back here in the garage area. You see the work going on Ambrose's cars. Both drivers have decided to stay in their cars. Of course, we'd love to get a comment from Ambrose about what Kevin Harvick had to say on the radio, but Ambrose has decided to stay in the car. And a lot of work to be done to get this 9 car back in the race, Adam.
And Marty, last week, running inside the top 5, a threat to win at Daytona. That contact late when he and Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane all going for the victory. He got damaged, had to come down pit road. Pretty much ended his opportunity at a win Saturday night. Good battle for 5th. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth. It's not one of the better tracks for Kenseth, but he looks good today. Started in the 12th position. He's up to 5th right now, Chris.
Yeah, he's had a steady climb up to 5th, and he's saying that car is working real well. He admits that this is not one of his best racetracks, but JGR is strong here, and both Kyle and Denny are strong here, so he's really been just trying to learn from those guys, and obviously it's working.
Well, there is no question Kyle Busch is good here, especially today. Took over the race lead from pole sitter Brad Keselowski at lap 9. And he has now led 22 of our 30 laps. Another driver to keep an eye on today, Jamie McMurray, qualified in the 11th position. But he crashed late in final practice yesterday. They repaired the car, and he is out running strong inside the top 20. The McDonald's Pass-Go Sweepstakes has given one lucky fan at Loudon a chance to win $200 each time Jamie McMurray passes the start-finish line. For your chance to win big bucks on a Big Mac, play Monopoly at McDonald's starting this Tuesday. Kyle Busch won yesterday in nationwide competition. He's got things under control this afternoon. He leads with 31 of 301 complete in Loudon. Look and get unlimited access to the Sprint Cup Series with the free NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint Network. Most laps led today, Kyle Busch, 29. No metering, no throttling, and no overages. All on the Sprint Network. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Kyle's advantage now over second place Kurt Busch, 1.4 seconds. Pole sitter Brad Keselowski has dropped to third. He is 1.7 seconds behind the race leader.
Yeah, I think his brother's catching him a little bit here every lap.
What's going on early in the 18 camp, Marty?
Well, I talked to Kyle right before he climbed in the car, Adam. I said, what did you learn most from the nationwide race yesterday and that win that you guys have talked about? He said, find clean air as soon as I can. So that's why Kyle Busch was in such a hurry to get to the front. It means everything here. In fact, he said, this cruise, guys, feels like a lot like the cruise yesterday. And that obviously netted good results for Kyle Busch. He's doing all of this with a staticky radio. Every time Dave Rogers or the spotter keys the radio, it's got a lot of static in it. They tried changing channels. They tried changing radios. It got a little bit better, but he still has to deal with it every time they come on the radio. But Wally, that's the good thing about leading. You don't have to be on the radio much when you're leading, do you?
No, you just cruise around. That's the best part about being out front. Like I said, you just running your own laps. You have nobody to really deal with. There's Marcus Ambrose back in the race. Now, he could be just trying to get some points, or he could be looking for a certain someone.
You're always stirring it up, aren't you?
Well, I mean, hey, listen, when you get taken out like that, trust me, it's not something you just forget about.
He's 25 laps down, and I got to say, the team did a great job of repairing that car in very quick fashion. See him running behind Matt Kenseth, who is fifth right now.
I'll guarantee you, when the 29 car does come up on him, he's going to give him plenty of room.
Mentioned coming into today's race, there are several drivers got great resumes, haven't won in 2013. Two of them right here. Kurt Busch, who after a solid effort last week in Daytona finds himself top 10 in the championship for the first time in over 50 races. And right behind him, Brad Keselowski, the defending champ, solid in the top 5. We haven't said that a lot lately, Ralph.
No, but he's pretty solid today, right now, Adam. He likes this race car. So it's just a little bit tight on the entrance to the corner, and then a little tight in the center, a little loose getting in. But when you hear spotter Joey Meyer talking, he says, boy, you look good. In fact, you're running better times than the guys in front of you. So he's slowly chipping away and reeling him in, beginning with Kurt Busch right in front of him.
Yeah, but we talk about those two teams, and the expectations of those two teams coming into this year were 180 degrees apart. I think the two car thought they could come out, defend that championship, start winning races out right off the bat, and have a stellar year. I think that 78 said, if we win races, if we make the chase, it's going to be a successful year for us. I think the 78 is more on track to make their season what their expectations were. The 2 has to get back on track.
And I'm not sure the 78 expectations haven't changed a little bit, because they've gotten better and better as the season has gone on. And you look at Kurt Busch and his climb. Remember Michigan a few weeks ago? Great race car, slammed the wall off of turn 2, dropped to 20th in the championship. But he has been on fire. Top 5 run at Sonoma, 6th the last couple of weeks. And now he finds himself inside the top 10 in the championship, Marty.
That's a cool points graphic, Adam, and it shows that they are in the top 10 for the first time all season long. Not bad for a guy with a car who he said was absolute junk on lap 2. He said, loose in, slide in the center, loose off. What you guys do to this car? I would say they've gotten it a little bit better, obviously, the longer this run has gone on, Adam.
Trust me, Marty, all drivers complain. I'm up here with 2 of them.
That hurt. That hurt a little bit.
Kern looks good. He's running second. It's younger brother Kyle who leads 45 laps in at Loudon, New Hampshire. To you by the nation's fastest 4G LTE network, AT&T. Rethink possible. 51 laps complete in Loudon, New Hampshire. Kyle Busch, the race leader, working to the inside here of Michael McDowell to put him a lap down. McDowell scored in the 32nd position. With Kyle leading all these laps early, it reminds us of a year ago. He started on the pole, led the first 66 laps, got caught speeding on pit road, eventually finished in the 16th position. But right now, looking good on track, Larry.
Yeah, as I watch Kyle Busch, and I think you just documented about how dominant he was in this race 1 year ago. He has a Sprint Cup Series win here, but it was back in 2006, the last year that we ran the Generation 4 car. This is the first race for this new Generation 6 car here. And in those 12 races, we ran the Gen 5, or what we called the car tomorrow. Even though he had 4 top 10s, he said he never could find what he was looking for in a race car here at Loudon with that Gen 5.
Thank you, Larry. The Joe Gibbs car is looking good early.
Yes, they are. And you know what was interesting that he said during the nationwide race yesterday, and I'm sure it's this way with his Cup car. He said it was good to be back in a Butler's seat. That when he runs at the Speedway, he has to run that carbon fiber seat, and he loses that feel in his body for what the car wants, what he wants from the car. But to get back in his regular seat, and you know that, Wally, you change something just a little bit in a car for a driver, they lose that a little bit, and it's hard for him to feel comfortable. He feels comfortable in this car.
You're absolutely, and these guys run multiple cars. It's not, they run different cars, and they spend a lot of time getting everything exact. The distance from the seat to the pedals, the angle of the steering wheel, the angle of the seat. It's when you get in a different car, you don't want to feel like you're getting in a different car.
You mentioned the Joe Gibbs cars look good today. Hendrick not bad either. 3 cars in the top 10. Jeff Gordon now scored in the 5th position.
Track condition continuing to change. The cloud cover has moved out. Blazing sun. Temps coming up, and Jeff Gordon is feeling it. Under the cloud cover, the car had exceptional drive off the corner. Now he said it's really tight rolling the center, and it's really sideways on exit. No grip whatsoever. Remember, he's one of those drivers in that bubble position, 9th to 17th in the standings. He's only 12 markers out of 10. Remember also, last fall he was almost money here, finishing 3rd. This could be a big day for him.
And as they run on track, Matt, the 2014 13th in the championship, but only 4 outside the top 10. And here we see the man who leads the Sprint Cup standings coming in. Jimmy Johnson started 43rd after his qualifying speed was disallowed on Friday. Picked up 23 positions. The car is good early, but they've kind of stabilized here. Wally?
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. So these guys are going to be pitting, I think, pretty quick. And obviously, they've got a little bit more fuel on board than everybody else, but you've got to catch the caution strike. I mean, certainly.
And you say they've got more fuel because they pitted at lap 15.
Right.
So our graphic a little bit deceiving when you consider the cars that they've not only passed in the running order, but what they've done since they pitted. He has gone by 31 cars today, and we've only completed 57 laps.
Yeah, and they get harder to pass in this part, of the field right now. I mean, he's coming up on better cars. So we figured he'd get to this point fairly quick. Now it's going to get a little bit tougher.
So we've talked about Gordon, we've talked about Johnson, now Casey Kane, who won this race a year ago. Chris?
Adam, you talk about another team that desperately needs a good finish in the last 7 weeks. This team has gone from 5th to 12th in the standings. Matt just talked about the sun popping out. Well, since the green flag dropped, this track temp has gone up 20 degrees. It's now 120 degrees on the track surface. And Casey Kane said he could use a little bit of help getting off the corner. But mainly his biggest issue is he's having a very difficult time when he's trying to get around people, trying to find a spot where there's some grip.
Won't be long before they're coming down the pit lane to get the cars all fixed up and help the handling, Chris. We're 59 laps into this one. The Coca-Cola in-car camera on Race Buddy lets you ride shotgun with a Coca-Cola Racing family driver. Go to NASCAR.com and check out the Coca-Cola in-car camera on Race Buddy. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. 65 laps complete at the Magic Mile, and there is a new man in charge. Kurt Busch taking over the top spot while we were away. Going around younger brother Kyle. In fact, Kyle has slid back to third. Brad Keselowski got around him. Here's the change up front.
You see, Kyle's just got a little bit loose getting off the corner. Sounds like his car's been doing that for the last little bit. Obviously, Kurt got his car working really good on the long run.
Yeah.
Where the 18 is better on the short run, but they'll come in on this next pit stop and they'll make whatever adjustments they can. But you want to be good on the long runs here.
Yeah, and the 18 is dropping right now, which shows that the 18 is really good on a short run. Is that good or bad? It depends on how the race plays out. He really dominated the first 20, 30, 40 laps of the race as you look at it. But then these guys are in it for the long haul, and they kind of come back by him. Kyle's reported, as you saw him come off the corner, that the car's a little tight coming off and then snaps loose. And that's hard to control at this point in time. We're getting close to pit stops. Maybe they'll make an adjustment or look to try to correct that. Or if they want to stay good on a short run, they'll just live with it.
Yeah, and he just got loose again, so I think he's going to be wanting to get to pit lane as soon as possible.
Marty, he's gone from first to fourth in about 7 laps.
Well, to the boys' point, we're real close to pit stops, about 5 laps for Kyle Busch, maybe even sooner because the car very ill handling right now. It does snap loose, as Kyle mentioned, off of the corner, and he said it really changed when the sun came out. So I think it's a combination of things that Dave Rogers has to deal with. Number one, sunny and bright right now, as Matt mentioned earlier, that has changed the complexion of the racetrack. And number two, they're clearly not as good in the long run as everybody else.
Yeah, and he does have issues that they're going to have to deal with, multiple, but he can fix the car, but even the great Larry McReynolds can't fix the sun from coming out. I mean, it's going to come out, and you're going to have to deal with it as the day goes on.
And if you look outside, it's not like the clouds are just going to blow through. It's going to be sunny the rest of the day. It's very cloudy today with holes that the sun's going to come through. So they'll be chasing this all day.
And how about that? When we started the race, 84 degrees air temperature. The track was at 100. A couple of degrees up on air temperature now, but 120 the track temp.
Yeah, and race fans at home probably think that doesn't mean anything. How big an issue can that be? Remember, they'll put a quarter pound of air in the tire and change the way these tires. They'll put a 16th or a 32nd shim in a bump stop and change the way these things drive. They're so close to being right or wrong. The temperature change of the track, the sun coming out, the sun going in, totally changes the way these guys approach the race and how it handles.
There was a tire test here back in the spring, Wally, and Clint Boyer was incredible when they came up here to test the Goodyear tires. And I asked that team, bring the same car back here? They said yes, but you have to understand, a lot cooler when we were here testing, alluding to what we just talked about.
Yeah, to Kyle's point, if it would have been the same temperatures that, it was when Boyer came up here and tested, he'd probably run in the top 2 or 3. This track, all racetracks are pretty temperature sensitive, and this is definitely one of the top 3.
Mentioned Clint Boyer. He's won twice at this track. He was the first car out in qualifying on Friday. He's running 14th right now. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen. Pit stop's underway.
Well, this is the start of it, Adam, and the first one in coming down to my end, which is the first 10 spaces, is the number 1 at Jamie McMurray. He comes to a stop. They're going to go change tires, take fuel. They're going to do 4 here, Matt.
Greg Biffle telling his team he needs significant help rolling the center of the corner. The car way too tight. Track bar adjustment and air pressure for him. Meanwhile, the 11 of Denny Hamlin pulls to a stop as well. His car had trouble rolling the center and slick on exit. Air pressure change for the 11 also. You can see chassis adjustment, Chris.
Clint Boyer in the 15. He's started 20th today, ran it up to about 14, saying the front end is chattering and he's kind of stuck back there.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. pulls into his pit stall, guys. He said it's pretty good coming off of the wall, meaning corner exit, but a little bit too tight. He said the biggest thing I want to work on, forward bite, and that's what Steve Letarte wants to fix for the first half of the run. They do that with air pressure, Matt.
And the 48 of Jimmy Johnson brings his car down the pit road. Jimmy needed help on entry and exit the car a little on the free side. Meanwhile, possibly an issue for the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Conversation with officials. Route, they may have a lug missing.
Kevin Harvick is in here, Matt. They're going to make a chassis adjustment on the right rear. They're going to take tires on both sides of this car, Marty.
Ralph Kurt Busch said, guys, I'm sorry for complaining about the car. I just never thought it would be this good this late in the run. Loose in, loose off. They want to fix that. Down 2 rounds on the track bar and a half pound out of both left side tires. Ralph?
Tony Stewart is in. They're going to take tires on the right side to begin his run. He loves this heat. So when this sun popped out, that was what he was looking for. Get this track good and slippery as he takes 4 tires of fuel, Chris.
What a run for Matt Kenseth, all the way up to third. He said he has the car that can definitely challenge for the front, but he's having to wait on the throttle a little bit too long in the center of the corner.
And as Matt Kenseth makes an exit, you see Carl Edwards on pit road. Denny Hamlin back in. Matt alluded to it, and they got problems. Matt?
They hit the lug on that left rear, Ralph. Meanwhile, the 24 is on his way. What do you have? Ralph.
Brad Keselowski's coming in. This car has been really good. He's been running very good lap times, hanging right up in the front of the field, and they're very, very solid and very happy with this car. Pit stop going for him, 4 tires going on this car, and a little bit of a chassis adjustment, Matt.
And Truex is already away. They made a chassis adjustment to try to help get more grip. Jeff Gordon's in. Loose on entry under braking, also loose on exit. Significant changes for the 24.
Denny Hamlin had to come back down pit road. So did Brian Vickers. Equipment leaving the box, the penalty for the 55.
Yeah, Denny came in. I believe he was running 7th. Not sure where this is going to put him, but it's going to put him deep in the field, having to come back in.
Vickers was scored in the 19th position when he came down pit road. And when the cycle of green flag pit stops began, and now we get a caution at lap 75 for debris. Our third of the afternoon.
Winch up in high in turn 1 that we'll go get.
Yeah. Hey, guys, Jimmy Johnson found it interesting. Now, he could have run to about lap 89 or 90 because, remember, he pitted on lap 15. But what they're making sure that they didn't do is go too far on those older tires and lose a lot of ground. They want this. We talked about them wanting to get off sequence, but right here they wanted to stay on sequence as far as fresh tires versus all the competitors.
I was wondering why they came in.
And Larry, I think when this caution, it played right into their hands. If they hadn't pitted and stayed out there, they would have lost all that track position because everybody else has pitted.
Exactly. I mean, this almost ended up being a perfect world for them right here.
Yes. They are a lucky bunch.
They gained 4 spots in that cycle right there. Yeah, I mean, and it's exactly what it is. Lucky if that caution came just at the right time.
Jimmy Johnson started 43rd. He's now 14th. Kurt Busch leads. 79 laps completed New Hampshire. Live in Loudon, New Hampshire. NASCAR beginning the second half of the season this afternoon at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And now our nationwide caution count. Already 3 today. You look at the last 3 races here, only 1 caution before lap 30 in each of those. What's this mean for late in the race? Could be very interesting down the stretch here this afternoon. Going to go back green as we complete lap 82. The Busch brothers, Kurt and Kyle up front for the restart.
Good start by Kurt. Yeah, no kidding. I think he knew he better.
Yeah.
That 18 being strong on the short run.
Matt Kenseth slides to second, Kyle Busch third, Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, Casey Kane, Dale Jr. all going for the 4th position. How about Juan Pablo Montoya up inside the top 10? That's a backup car after they crashed early in the opening practice session of the weekend on Friday. Teammates going at it. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane. That's for 6th.
And I'll tell you what, that was a tough driving on Casey's part because he saw the 88 of Earnhardt get loose underneath him, and he drove up the racetrack to give him more room.
And Juan was able to take advantage of those guys sliding up and just powered by both of them. That could have been ugly.
Yep.
Jeff Burton side by side with Carl Edwards. They're racing for 9th. Burton, a 4-time winner here. That's more victories than any other driver. And right behind them, Tony Stewart, who will try and match him today. Smoke has 3 wins at New Hampshire. Riding with Clint Boyer here. He's up to 12th. Started 20th earlier this afternoon. See the progress of Jimmy Johnson working the outside of Jamie McMurray, the 5-time champion, continues in the 14th position. That's where he was on the restart.
Boy, he came across the front of that one car. Thank you, Jamie, for not wrecking me.
Yeah. Good thing Kevin Harvick wasn't there, right? Remember what he said earlier?
I think Jamie saved him right there just a little bit. I'm not sure that Jimmy knew that he was that close. We saw a minute ago the 5 cars slide up when he and Junior got a little free there, and Juan go back by him, and you see the 5 battle back, trying to take that position away.
Jeff Burton kind of doing now what Montoya did a few laps ago.
There we go. I knew that was coming.
Little contact there. 5 and 42 might have brushed against each other.
Well, the 42 came, 42 drove down pretty tight on the 5 going down into the corner, and that's just basically not giving the other guy room. So.
But that's what you have to do here. You can't continue to run laps side by side because the guys behind you catch up incredibly fast, and it bunches up there. And the guys in front of you, you see them drive away. And these guys are so close when they get clear track to run at the same speed. You can't lose that distance on the track.
Good afternoon for Jeff Burton. Marty, he's up to 8th.
Nice little run for Jeff Burton. And I was talking to Luke Lambert, his crew chief, earlier today, and he said, honestly, this is one of the best cars coming into race day we've had all season long. He said, we've had the speed for the last 2 months. We don't have the finishes to show for it. And who runs better at New Hampshire than Jeff Burton? You see it right there on the screen. 4 wins at this place, Adam. He knows how to get around this joint.
Well, and his teammate, not bad here either, talking about Kevin Harvick, who was inside the top 10, but pitted a second time under that last caution because of some contact. So he restarted 24th, and the 29 machine now scored in 22nd as you see him go to work here on Bobby Labonte for 21st. And Brian Vickers, who had that penalty making a cycle of green flag pit stops a moment ago, a lap down in 27th. Denny Hamlin also penalized. Had that lug nut missing. He's the first car 1 lap down in 26th. Everybody chasing Kurt Busch. He's got a half a second lead over Matt Kenseth. Play AT&T's Fastest Driver Challenge by calling **Fast for your mobile phone to predict who will have the fastest times today. Brought to you by the nation's fastest 4G LTE network, AT&T. Rethink possible. Kurt Busch leads as we close on lap 100. Matt Kenseth running second right now. And in the third position is Kyle Busch. He led 54 laps early. But some frustration in their camp. We'll get to that in a moment. First, let's hear from crew chief Larry McReynolds.
Well, Adam, it was well documented before that green flag stop that Kyle Busch in the 18 was falling backwards. Marty Snyder was telling me during commercial break that here on the inside of the right front tire that they were starting to get some blistering right there, which means the temperature was way up on the inside of that tire. Now, it's from running a lot of right front camber. Here's what camber is. If you look at this straight edge here, this right here is negative camber. It's about 8 or 9 degrees. The reason teams run that much negative camber to right front, these flat corners, is to help the car turn and rotate. But on these long straightaways, it's running right on the inside edge of that right front tire, and that's where it's going to get in trouble. What could concern me, Adam, is the fact that his car was a little loose. If they tighten it up, that's going to put more pressure on this right front tire. There's not a lot you can do to get more camber out of it during a race.
Thank you, Larry. And now let's listen to what Kyle's saying on the radio this a few minutes ago.
Tony, think you're moving around a little bit. Last 3 laps have been the same as the leaders. Yeah, no. Sight center does not turn. Inconsistent exit. Poor buddy. Hang with me. Clouds are rolling back in. We should end this race under cloud cover. That's where we're at our best.
It's like Larry was saying, there's not a whole lot you can do to change that. And that's going to happen pretty much every time they get on a run towards the end.
Yes.
And so he's going to be fighting that.
Yeah, and the only thing the driver can do is lay off of it in the beginning and not abuse it early on. Okay? Not put that much heat in it. We saw him be very aggressive when the race first started. He drove from 4th to 1st in those first 10 or 15 laps and used up all the good. But he's talking about the car being a little free in, tight in the middle. he's not going to fix that camber. You can't physically take that camber out. The driver can only stay off of it a little bit and make the car rotate and not try to punish it like we saw him snapping loose up off the corner. He was in the gas, standing on that right front and making it snap.
But the difference between taking care of it and not taking care of it is between third spot and 15th position right now.
Maybe farther back than that in a race like this, yes.
The good news for Kyle, though, is we continue to talk about one of the keys to this race being track position. They're frustrated, but running third. So they're in front of the 8 ball, if you will. Making history today in the Sprint Cup Series. Morgan Shepherd competing this afternoon, and by taking the green flag, he's currently scored in 40th. He becomes the oldest driver ever in Sprint Cup competition at age 71. And I saw him this morning. He is in great shape. And in Countdown to Green, he said, I'm his older brother. So that makes me feel really good about that.
That was good. That was nice of him to acknowledge you.
Because I don't think he's ever heard of you.
Probably not.
Today.
The King's 76, and he didn't know your name.
Matt Kenseth looks solid today, Chris, in the runner-up position.
Yeah, Adam, you talk about the tire concerns on the 18. Well, the 20 car, very different situation. He ran from 12th up to 2nd after that last pit stop, fell back to 4th, now in 2nd again. And I took a look at the tires that came off that car, and they looked great. Tire wear looked very even across all 4 tires, and the right side temperatures, the right front was 295 on the inside shoulder, 290 on the outside shoulder, and the rear tire on that car, 280 all the way across the tire. So very good tire temperatures on the 20 car.
Don't typically see him at the front here, but Matt Kenseth, outstanding run in the runner-up position, going for his 5th win of the season. The defending series champion Brad Keselowski would love to get his first. He's 5th right now. To get exclusive behind-the-scenes access and expert opinions for the biggest names in sports, including NASCAR's Kyle Petty, check out Behind the Mic. Powered by Ford at BleacherReport.com/Behind the Mic. The New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire, hosting race 19 on the 2013 schedule for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Kurt Busch continues to lead. He put Joe Nemechek a lap down while we were away. And that means Denny Hamlin lost the free pass position. He went a lap down on a cycle of green flag pit stops earlier. Let's go through the field. Brought to you by McDonald's. Here's Marty Snyder.
Well, Adam, talking to Todd Berry, the crew chief for Kurt Busch earlier today, he said, honestly, late with Kurt, we've just been trying to get him to settle down a little bit and calm down. Don't force the issue. I asked Kurt about that. He said, it's true. Sometimes I drive 101%, and that gets us in trouble. Michigan, a good example of that. He said, I don't need to force this first win of the season. I just need to let it come. Looks like it might come today, Chris.
Well, Matt Kenseth having a great run. He said the car is good early in the run and good late in the run. So he's got a fantastic car at a track he typically doesn't do well at. I spoke with Jason Ratcliffe earlier, and we talked about the team sliding back to 6th in points. He says, we're just seeing some peaks and valleys during this early part of the summer, but he's not worried about it because he said the guys up front have just been really consistent those first 5 in the points. Marty?
Chris, you heard that terrific radio conversation between Dave Rogers and Kyle Busch a little bit earlier. He came on the radio and said, our car will be better when the clouds do finally roll in. So far, that has not happened, and Kyle came on the radio, said, nope, car not much better. He said, use your brake bias to help adjust the car, Matt.
Jeff Gordon, the 24 machine, gained 2 spots on the restart. He told Alan Gustafson we had really improved the race car rolling through the center, but now it's much looser on entry and also on exit. Ralph, he's just holding station, looking ahead to their next stop.
Well, next in line, Matt, is the reigning champion, Brad Keselowski, in that number 2. He's currently 13th in points. He made a track bar adjustment on that last stop to fix a little bit of a loose on entry, and 13th in points. He's happy to know that he's got 4 top 10s, including the last 3 starts here, which could really help him pick up some more points here this weekend, Marty.
Ralph Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in the 6th position. He came on the radio 1 lap ago, said the car's a little bit too tight. rolling in the middle of the corner. I talked to Steve Letarte this morning, and he said, we've been happy with the speed in this 88 car the last 2 months. It seems every time we're in contention to win, just like we are today, we can't finish the race. That's what I want to get out of today, is a nice finish. Behind him, Jeff Burton having a terrific run in the 7th position. Car just a little bit too loose for Jeff Burton. This team would love a top 10 today. In fact, his last New Hampshire top 10 came in 2008, Chris.
Kane has been running around in 8th all day. I spoke with Kenny Francis earlier today, and he said it's been frustrating the last couple months. He said the performances there and the Hendrick cars are awesome right now, and they're just in this cycle of bad luck. He said it is just so frustrating when you've got great cars, but you're just got that monkey on your back. Ralph.
Chris, Tony Stewart started the day in 16th. That sun popped out. He continues to march forward. The last round of adjustments, along with 4 tires and fuel, really helped the 14. He just came on the radio and said, we are much better, Matt. He's already up to 9th.
Ralph, a nice recovery by Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 machine, crashing his car during practice, started in the top 10, and that's where he runs. The last run, he's telling his team that they've lost more of the drive off. The car much more free. This run on exit. Chris Heroy told me, Larry Mack, they feel like this could be a great stretch for them. Yes, they're in that window to try to score a wild card spot, and Montoya's got 3 great tracks coming up where either he's won or should have won. Indy, Watkins Glen, and Pocono. Could be a big bonus point stretch for them.
Well, Matt, we're about 30 laps from halfway of this 301-lap race, and we told you in our Kelly Blue Book Insider analysis the thing we would be watching. Can the 48 Jimmy Johnson go from 43rd, starting dead last, to win this thing? He's passed a total of 35 cars, but what I've noticed in this run right here, he restarted in 14th, he's fallen back to 15th, and now he has his hands full of Ryan Newman. It's kind of stalled out right here. This is not the type of race that will let him win this thing. He's going to need more cautions.
And one of the drivers that he got around in that run to the top 15 was Martin Truex Jr. We followed him all week with All Access, and now we go inside tracks. The 56 crew chief is Chad Johnston.
$29.98, 76 behind you. Fastest car on the track behind you.
No surprise.
Inside bumper, inside, nothing out back, nothing out back. Clear, William, all clear.
Let him go.
Well, this is a track that can change a lot over the course of the day. We're 120 laps in. As we look at the battle for the 4th position, you got Brad Keselowski going after Jeff Gordon. That didn't take long. Brad started on the pole today, drifted back right around 5th, 6th, and his car appears to be coming to life a little bit.
You know, we saw it in that first run. Brad dropped back to 3rd or 4th right along in there, and by the end of that run, he drove back up through there. It's interesting. Jimmy Johnson, as we've talked about him the whole first part of the race, it seems like that's all we've talked about. But he has stalled out. He was on the bumper of that 15 of Clint Boyer, and Clint has driven away from him right now.
No problems for Kurt Busch. He has a 1.7 second advantage here at New Hampshire. And we'll stay here as we get our 4th caution of the day. It comes out at lap 122, and it's a problem for Denny Hamlin. Had the issue on pit road, missing lug nut, had to make an unscheduled stop, and now a right front tire, it looks like.
Yep, definitely down. Again, you know, it could be something about, you know, running something over, but you also look at the problems that his teammate had with the tires blistering, so I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing more of a trend right now with some of these guys having some problems.
And we talk about, as we watch the replay here, you see Denny, he's already pulled over. He's already felt it as he came up off turn 2. Yeah. He's already felt that the tire was going. But we talk about, as you see him go up the racetrack, Nemechek is right. Wow. He's already down at this point. The tire's already gone down. He feels it. He goes in the corner. It won't turn. You see Nemechek go to the outside of him and just barely squeaks by.
And when a tire blisters, what it feels like, you know, for a driver, it feels like you're on ice. Yes. There's no grip on that right front, and it just you know, it just slides.
And Denny was just about in position to take advantage of the lucky dog. And so you know he was pressing hard to be the first car one lap down, and he ends up being the caution.
Pit road is open. Here they come, Chris.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth running second. He told the team, I need a little bit more forward bite, but don't waste any time on this pit stop. Also clean the grill. He's starting to get a little bit of a long brake pedal. Marty.
Chris, your leader, Kurt Busch, on the top right of your screen. He said the car got a little too free as we went along. 0.3 of a pound of air pressure on the right rear, Matt. 4 tires.
Jeff Gordon lost one spot right before the caution. Hit pit road in the 5th position. Ralphie says his car will not turn down in 3 and 4. And he barely touches the gas in 1 and 2, and it goes sideways. Air pressure change for the 24.
Crew Chief Paul Wolf said no, left tires are not wearing much, so they decided to go with just 2 for Brad Keselowski. He's been losing just a little bit of drive off the corners. They got him fixed up, ready to go with 2 rights and fuel.
A mixed bag. Some going with 4, others going with 2, including Dale Jr., who picked up 4 positions. Take an inside look and get unlimited access to the Sprint Cup Series with the free NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint network. Lead changes today, 8 of them, among 4 different drivers. No metering, no throttling, no overages, all while on the Sprint network. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Under our 4th caution of the day, the free pass goes to David Reagan. Jimmy Johnson got 4 tires under caution. He will restart 16th. Here's what they're saying on the radio.
We're about 2.5 cents off where we need to be. I mean, I'm tight over in the center of 3 and 4, but loose everywhere else. I don't know how to go at it. Okay, we'll get you figured out there, homie. Come on, man. Don't give up on me now. No, I'll never say that. I just don't know what to tell you to do to it. Want to fix it? We're going to go to the front, man. Come on.
That's what you like. Hey, that's what you want to hear from your crew chief there.
That's what you want to hear. But it's reminiscent of a time up here, maybe it was last year or the year before, when Chad was giving him a pep talk and Jimmy told him to shut up and let me drive the car. I mean, it's kind of what Jimmy's just searching. He's saying, I'm loose in, but I'm plowing down here in 3 and 4, but I'm free in and free off. That's the worst feeling.
And that's hard to fix.
That's hard to fix. It's the worst feeling for a driver to just be on ice going in and then go to a dead push and then be on ice coming off the corner.
Kurt Busch was the leader when the caution came out. He got 4 tires, as did brother Kyle. They restart 7th and 8th. On the front row, Matt Kenseth, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Top 6 on the restart. Got 2 tires.
Yeah, and that's going to be real interesting to see how that. We're about to find out how important tires are right now. Because the guys that just took 2, and granted, the guys that just took 2 are handling a lot better as well.
The thing is, it's going to be interesting to see the track position, because by the time you take 2 and you get that track position and you're up there, has the guy with 4 tires already used the good out of his tires, and it equalizes itself at some point in time.
And this a little bit goes back to the conversation I have had so many times in the last few weeks, Wally, and that is, if you take 4 now, are you setting yourself up to be able to take 2 later?
That's how I'm always looking at it. It's like take advantage of the 4 while you're under caution. So if you have to go later on 2 and you have to make a stop on green, it's going to save you that much time.
See Kyle and Kurt side by side. They both, as we said, got 4 tires when they came down the pit lane a moment ago. Right now being held up by Juan Pablo Montoya, the final car inside the top 5.
I think that's pretty wide here.
That's a pretty strong move after a restart to pass somebody.
42 sliding up the racetrack,
and we saw the 42 slide up the racetrack into the 5 before when it was he and Junior and all those guys raced.
And that's just driving it in hard. You drive that car in a little bit harder in the corner, and the cars have a tendency to slide up the track. Lack of grip.
Kyle Busch got him outside, Kurt Busch on the inside, and now Carl Edwards knocking on Juan Pablo Montoya's door and shuts the door on Jeff Gordon, who was looking to the top side. Haven't mentioned Ryan Newman's name much today. South Bend, Indiana drivers, won here 3 times. He's now in the 11th position. About as high as he has been in the running order this afternoon. Mentioned earlier, Casey Kane won this race a year ago. He finds himself in 10th right now. You're on board here behind Carl Edwards. Case. Paul Menard now in the 16th position, trying to bounce back from so much disappointment in recent weeks, Wally.
Yeah, he's not had a very good last 6 races or so. Blew up at Daytona. They were sitting in the top 9 in points. Right on with Martin Truex here.
And this is a pretty tough group of cars right here. From about 12th, 13th, back to 15th or 16th. They don't really pass each other on the racetrack. It's just how they come off pit road. But they just seem to be mired in this area right here and not be able to make much more progress than where they are.
Yeah, they all seem like they're needing the same exact real estate to get their car to work through the corners. And when that happens, you just can't make a pass.
And how frustrating is this place as a driver? Because you work so hard and you really don't get the fruits of your labor making up any ground.
Yeah, you don't. And I mean, as you watch on board here, you see everybody's kind of in the same spot on the track. Now, Biffle slides up the racetrack a little bit. That's when you try to make something happen, is if a guy makes a little bit of a mistake. But Biffle recovered, and it's just really difficult right now as we take a look at the telemetry here. You can hear him get on the throttle, too. They're just feeding the throttle really easy right now. If you jump on the throttle at this point, the car breaks loose a little bit. Just a little bit of brake to kind of set the nose going into the corner. Get off the brake as fast as you can and let the car roll. And once you get through the center of the corner, that's when you pick up the throttle again. There's a lot. There's really a finesse to get around this racetrack.
And there is. And we heard, I think it was Kyle Busch they were talking about earlier, adjust your brake bias. Sometimes when you've got too much front brake and you drag that brake, you're not really on it, you're just dragging it, getting into the corner, it makes the car tight and makes the car push. So you adjust to the rear. Then you drag that brake, and as you turn, the rear begins to slow down, and the thing begins to be free.
It actually steers the
rear of the car a little bit. So you can drive the car with the brake, but you've got to tune it in, and that's a driver's responsibility. But it's tough, and as this car changes, as you run the gas off and you get more nose weight, you have to adjust the brake accordingly.
Matt Kenseth led 12 laps in those last 21 starts here until today. Been out front for 14 this afternoon. He's got the field in tow right now. Closing on halfway for the Sprint Cup Series in Loudon, New Hampshire on this Sunday afternoon. Matt Kenseth took the lead with a 2-tire pit stop at lap 124, and he has led the last 20 laps. And now our Ram, no guts, no glory. And it goes to the 5-time champion Jimmy Johnson, who has been through it all this weekend. Qualified second on Friday, but his time was not allowed. Too low on the front end in post-qualifying inspection. So he knew he was going to be starting 43rd today. And before we even went green, they had some problems getting through the inspection line this morning prior to the race. But once they did, found their spot on the grid and used some good luck getting around our second caution of the day. By lap 12, he was into the top 30. Lap 48, he moved his way into the top 20. And by lap 75, he was running inside the top 15. And right now, the 3-time New Hampshire winner scored 13th.
And really hasn't been able to go too much further than that.
Yeah.
Kind of hit a brick wall right there. There goes Kurt Busch around his brother Kyle.
Yeah,
spot.
I think Jimmy and those guys thought they had NASCAR had instituted a new rule up here that if you've won 5 championships, you've got to go through inspection 5 times. Because every time he went through inspection, they caught him with something and sent him back around.
On board here with Tony Stewart. He's second. That's Brad Keselowski behind him in third. And right behind them, the Busch brothers. You just saw Kurt get around Kyle for 4th. They are the first 2 drivers in line, Wally, that took 4 tires on that last set of pit stops.
Yeah, this is where we could possibly see what the difference the tire is going to make at this point. Kyle mentioned earlier, maybe they would balance out. Maybe they would, run so long and then balance out. But to me, it looks like the tires are starting to be an advantage for the guys that took 4.
Yeah, I think it is too. But I'm going to tell you what, Tony Stewart has done a great job with his 2 tires. We haven't really talked about him, and he was hovering there 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Talked about the sun coming out and the track coming to him. He's gotten that track position, and he's not giving it up. He's done a good job.
Kurt Busch has led more laps than anybody today. 58 circuits. Here's what they're saying on team radio.
Get a figure of seconds behind the leader we are right now. 3.1, Kurt, 3.1. That's where I'm going. Shed 4 on that.
Didn't know what the 4 tires would do, but it appears to be paying huge dividends. Got up to 4th, and now going to go after perhaps 3rd in the runner-up position. I mean, he is right on Stewart and Keselowski. He gets 3rd, and it won't be long before he's the 2nd man in line. Kyle mentioned Tony Stewart having a good afternoon, Ralph, right now in the 4th spot.
Well, he is running on just 2 new tires on the right side there. The problem is he needs help getting off the corner. That's how they were able to catch him. The handling just not where Tony needs it right now. Brad, however, in that 2 car is running great, especially in the center of the corner. He's on 2 tires as well.
Hey, guys, on this 2 tires versus 4 tires, I think the 2 tires is the way to go for a short run. But the one variable today that these guys didn't have yesterday in the Nationwide Series race or in those 2 practices, it was much cooler. It's a lot hotter today, and this track doesn't have near the grip it had yesterday. I think that's one reason going with 2 tires for a long run is not going to pay off.
And Larry, Kyle mentioned the progress that Tony Stewart made on that cycle of pit stops, getting 2 tires, was running in the 2nd position. You talk about a yo-yo when it comes to the championship. He has experienced it all if you go back to Dover in the early part of June. Got the win there, was 16th in the championship, good at Pocono, got in the top 10 for the first time in quite some time at Michigan, and then he experienced some disappointment before last week, Wally.
Did they test up here? Were they one of the guys? They didn't test up here.
They did.
I was going to say, because it seems like the places that they have tested, like Pocono and some of these places, Dover, they have run a lot better at since they went there and tested, and I thought this was one of them.
And perhaps the disadvantage of that, Kyle, they have now used 3 of their 4 allotted tests at the tracks on the NASCAR schedule, which could hurt them as we head toward the chase.
Could hurt you in the chase. Could hurt you when you get to that point. But you know what? I tell you, this team was non-existent, and I said it early on. They were non-existent until we got to Tony. Tony put that thing in victory lane, did a great job, that team did. And then it seemed like the 39 and Danica, the whole team, kind of stepped it up a notch when you look at it. And they've gone through and they've had their cycle of a little bit of bad luck, but they've run a lot better since Dover than they run pre-Dover.
I think it was because you made him mad. You said he wasn't for real, and all of a sudden he's caught fire and he's in the top 10 of the championship.
Well, blame it on me. Blame it on me.
But the thing is, you've got to use those tests up now. I mean, if you've got to improve yourself. If you didn't improve yourself now, it doesn't matter if you're in the chase because you're not going to make the chase.
Can't win the title if you're not in the chase, without question. Matt Kenseth, one of the drivers certainly that would be in the championship conversation. He leads here today, Chris.
And Adam, you guys were just talking about tires. Matt Kenseth did just take 2 tires on that last stop, and the team keeping a real eye on the 78 car that took 4 tires. Matt's still running some really good times, and I really wanted to see what those tires looked like after that last pit stop, because we saw the blister with the 18 car. We saw Denny Hamlin cut a tire right before that last caution. Well, the tires on the right side on the 20, they looked great.
And now, Chris, we get our 5th caution of the day. Debris, the reason for this one. Over in turn 3. There you see it, just above the racing groove. Last year here, 3 cautions. In fact, we had 7 total cautions if you look at both the July and September races here. Today already 5, and we're just past halfway.
Now, does this help the guys that took 4? Because they're only going to take 2. It's going to swap things up, maybe.
Yeah, it may swap things up. But, I think people will look at it, and just like Larry said, at this point in time, it's almost a 4-tire stops.
Hey guys, the reason I don't know that they'll go with 2 is if everybody pits here, it's a 1-stop race from here. Then 145 laps to go. I believe right here, what I saw with those drivers on 2 tires, I believe I'm going to go with 4. but I can almost guarantee you with 25 drivers on the lead lap, somebody's going to roll the dice and do two.
And I'm going to bring this up just for the sake of argument. Who that helped most was Danica Patrick. She didn't pit on that last one. She stayed out. Her last pit stop was on lap 76, according to our thing here. So she was going to have to come in. She stays on the lead lap.
Nice break for Danica. Right now scored in the 25th position. Go to NASCAR.com to experience the 360 camera on Race Buddy, presented by Mobile One. Watch 10 camera views and special reports from the pits with Race Buddy on NASCAR.com. The top 10 as we get set for pit stops under caution: Matt Kenseth, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart, the top 5. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Burton, Juan Pablo Montoya, Jeff Gordon, and Casey Kane, the top 10. And as we continue to follow the progress of Jimmy Johnson, a little better on that last run. After starting 43rd, he is now 12th in the running order. These pit stops under caution going to come at lap 158. Matt Kenseth took 2 tires on the last cycle. So did Brad Keselowski. They'll be the first 2 in this time, Chris Neville.
Yeah, I think they're going to take 4 on the 20 this time. Also going to pull some tape on that grill. He still has that long brake pedal we talked about during that last stop. Air pressure change on the right rear of the 20. And looks like a good stop coming over, doing the left side tire. Marty.
Kurt Busch, top right of your screen. They go down, quarter round on the track bar. Just 2 tires for Kurt Busch as he leads pit road car a little loose, Matt.
And Jeff Gordon said he felt like he had to almost come to a stop to get the car to turn in the center of the corner. Chassis adjustment completed for the 24 to help that. 2 tires, Ralph.
They're going to go with 4 tires over here for the 2, actually utilizing the Jackman and one of the tire carriers from the 22 to help with Brad's car. 4 tires going over here. He's away.
Race off pit road. Guys at the front, 2 tires, including Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, and Kyle Busch. Kurt and Kyle got 4 on their last stop. Cleanup complete on our 5th caution of the day here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. First car on the restart that got 4 tires will be Matt Kenseth. He goes 14th when the green flag goes back in the air. And everybody in the top 10 getting 2 tires there, including Tony Stewart, who took 2 on the last opportunity on pit road.
Now that's where making your 2-tire stop is such an advantage, when the guy that takes 4 is all the way back in 14th or 15th spot. That's a lot of ground to make up. 4 tires or not. If it's just 6 guys in front of you, it's not too bad.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Rookie of the Year contender, looking for his first top 10 finish of the season. In 6th right now. He took no tires on that last stop.
I'm not sure he's going to be happy with that decision. Unless he came in later.
Kurt Busch able to grab the race lead here. That's Jeff Burton behind him. And there you see Stenhouse nearly sideways going into the corner. Jimmy Johnson below him, outside Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, when you that far in and you don't change tires and everybody's got better tires behind you, you're basically going to get run over.
And here's Jimmy Johnson getting that coveted track position as we've gone past halfway. Started 43rd, now finds himself in the 6th position, but maybe not for long.
That's Jeff passing him on the outside.
And here we are on board with Clint Boyer. Haven't talked a lot about him today, Kyle, but this is his kind of track.
Yeah, and Clint's been back there, like I said. Clint's been back mired 12th, 13th, 14th. We saw him earlier racing with the 48 car and just drove off and left the 48 car over after about 10 or 15 laps. But just as Wally said, in this stop, the 4 tires versus 2 tires, it's shaken up that thing a little bit. And it's moved guys that were 12th or 13th, 14th up to 5th, 6th, or 7th. And it's moved guys that were leading the race, like Matt, back to 12th or 13th.
But Matt's got those 4 tires, as we mentioned, driving to the inside of Stenhouse. That's for 9th. And we saw 4 tires on that last cycle, Wally, pay dividends over the course of the run for both Kurt and Kyle Busch.
Yeah, but like I said, you're having to travel further to get to the front when you're way back there and the restart's on 13th or 14th. I mean, you're going to try to get as much as you can right now because the 4 tires aren't better than anybody else's right now. But the distance is further. You got, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds between you and the leader, and cars in between you.
How many tires did Burton take?
He must have taken 2 because I believe everybody in the top 13 got 2 tires, with the exception of Stenhouse.
Kessler was, I think, the first guy that took 4.
Yeah, and he restarted 14.
Yeah, we saw, a minute ago as we're watching this battle right here with Stenhouse and Junior and the 16. Jeff Burton has done a great job today. They've been 5th, 6th, 7th, and right now running in 2nd with 2 tires, but really not losing a lot of ground to anybody that he's racing with.
I mean, what's incredible about Jeff Burton, he's won here 4 times. That's more than any other driver. But when he went to victory lane here in 2000, Marty, he led all 300 laps.
That was an impressive day. I was here for that race, Adam, and Jeff Burton not having quite as good of a day today, but the car obviously terrific. 2 tires, just to confirm to you guys on that last stop, and down half around on the track bar. Car was just a little bit loose. What's been odd, on the 2 restarts previous to this one, they've had debris on the grill. The water has shot up to 260 twice today. They've gotten the debris off both times, still been able to keep it up in the top 10, and Adam, I don't think they've been out of the top 10 the entire day today. Impressive run for Jeff Burton.
Jeff Burton got to still be thinking about an opportunity to jump into a wild card spot. Came in to the afternoon, 21st in points, only 3 out of the top 20. But as you know, if you're 11th to 20th in points and you have a victory, you're eligible for a wild card spot. We'll see how it pans out, but he'd love to be able to get away with one here today. Jeff Burton made his Cup debut here, July of 1993. First ever race at New Hampshire. Since then, Kurt Busch, one of the drivers, has gained the hat trick. He leads today, looking for his 4th win. Just gone past 3 o'clock on the East Coast. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series making the first of 2 visits to New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire. Good to have you with us on a Sunday afternoon for NASCAR on TNT. Kurt Busch started on the front row, has led the most laps out front right now. 76 circuits he has been out front. Right behind him, you've got Jeff Burton. He's some 1.5 seconds back. And in the 3rd spot, Kyle Busch. Kyle himself has led 54 laps today. How are they feeling as we close on 100 laps to go, Marty?
Well, Adam, I think they know they have one of the best cars here. And when I was talking to Dave Rogers earlier this week, he said this is one of the tracks where Kyle has been exceptional at getting himself better at the track. He said we've had a top 3 car all the races we recently here in New Hampshire. Last year in July, we had a speeding penalty late in the race. Last September, we lost an engine. Today, they have another good car, but it's frustrating, especially in one dimension of the race.
It's perfect by itself. It's junk in traffic. I can't drive it. It's not your fault. It's just me. I got to figure something out, man. The car's good. I cannot do traffic.
These cars are so aero-dependent, and we hear that a lot of places. Your car is good when nobody is stealing the air off it. But as soon as you get close to another car and it steals the air off it, you lose grip. And you can't pass anybody if you lose grip when you come up on them.
Yes, and that's the most frustrating thing for a driver. What's good to hear, if you're a young driver out there listening to what Kyle Busch said is, car's good. I've got to figure something out, which means he's willing to run higher. He's willing to run lower. He's willing to work the car around on the racetrack and find a place where it might work a little bit better. A lot of times you get stuck in that rut. You just say, it's not working where I'm wanting to drive. Well, go drive it somewhere different. And that's what Kyle and that's what the guys that are top drivers and really good race car drivers do. They find a place to make their car work.
Kyle Busch is 3rd right now. And right behind him in the 4th position, Tony Stewart, Larry.
Well, I'm on board with everyone's strategy here and what they're doing. When that caution came out on lap 155, everybody pitted on lap 158. As I documented, that put them in position, making it a one-stop race. But what's going to be interesting with Tony Stewart and his 14, he has not changed left side tires since lap 75, 105 laps ago. I think there's a lot of drivers in their crews that are thinking, we are not going to change left side tires anymore, but I just don't see how this 14 can go without changing left sides. at least one more time in this race.
So you're on board with everybody but Tony Stewart. Is that what you're saying?
Well, not Ricky Stenhouse. No, I'm not on board with that strategy.
All right, well, there's our two. There's our two. At least we know who they're. And that's a great point, because we talk about it. We talked about it the last 2 or 3 weeks. Wally's brought it up a couple times. Why wouldn't you go ahead and change Ford so you don't have to change it later? Why not put yourself in that position? And basically, what Larry's saying is, the 42 or the 14 of Tony Stewart has put themselves in a position where they've either got to run these left sides to the end of the race or lose all that track position by changing 4.
And Matt Kenseth, who did change 4 under caution at lap 158, right now in the 8th position. He had restarted 14th. He's the only driver inside the top 10 that has not won here at New Hampshire.
Hey, Adam, back to Tony Stewart in the 14. The only thing that may save him is if we go to get into green flag pit stops, because I think under green, knowing you're going to have a full load of fuel to get to the end, everybody probably will change 4 tires there.
The pit window here at New Hampshire right around 70, 75 laps. We're 25 laps into this run.
It's going to save you a little bit, but you're still going to be off on your tires. Your car is not going to be near what it is. The other guys you're racing that have fresher tires.
Clint Boyer is 9th right now, Chris. Where are they with their game plan?
Adam, he picked up 5 spots on that last stop by taking 2 tires, but he's been chattering the front end of that car in the center of the corner all day long. And even with the adjustments they've been making, he said the front end's still tight. Also, he and Casey Kane have been complaining on the radio, saying that the racing line is just way too tight around the racetrack. You can't deviate from the line that you're running because there's just no grip up higher.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of talking about earlier. Everybody's working the same real estate because that's where the grip is right now. And it's really, really hard to make a pass on somebody.
2 drivers
unless they let you make a pass on you.
2 drivers looking for their first win of the year. Brad Keselowski started on the pole today. He's 11th right now after getting around Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr., the lowest of the Hendrick cars at this stage of the race. You got Casey Kane running 5th, Jeff Gordon running 6th, Jimmy Johnson 7th. Right now, Brad Keselowski is racing on TNT, but this Thursday he'll be hanging out at a TV show bar on TBS. See Brad guest star on all new Sullivan and Son. It's this Thursday, 10/9 Central, only on TBS. Very funny. Inside look and get unlimited access to the Sprint Cup Series with the free NASCAR Mobile 13 app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint network. Top speed today, over 162 miles per hour, turned in by Kurt Busch, who leads the race right now. No metering, no throttling, no overages, all on the Sprint network. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Kurt Busch working through some lap traffic. He has led more laps than anyone today. 92 out front. Next in line in that category is teammate Kyle Busch. And Matt Kenseth, after he took 2 tires earlier, led 33 laps. Jeff Burton right behind Kurt Busch in the running order, 1.8 seconds back. Kyle Busch is 3rd, Tony Stewart 4th, and Casey Kane make up the top 5. And as you see Casey Kane here getting around Joe Nemechek, Jeff Gordon doing the same. Let's go back to Tony Stewart and clarify their strategy and how it's played out, Larry.
Well, I think we have cleaned it up, and now I like this strategy they're on. On that last caution, when they were on pit road at lap 158, they did not change right side tires. They changed left side tires. So now his left sides are actually the freshest tires on the race car. So I think they're in pretty decent shape here now.
Now I get it.
Yeah, now that makes a lot more sense.
Couldn't understand before if they would change the right sides, what they were. That's asking a lot on the left sides, but yeah, that makes a lot.
So what they can do next time to pit road, depending on caution or green, is they'll get rights and they'll be good to go on lefts.
Well, and it would also answer why they have been able to stay inside the top 5. I mean, he really has not drifted much since that last cycle of pit stops. Left of your screen, this is Tony Stewart coming down and making his stop at lap 158. What are they saying now, Ralph?
Well, I talked with Aaron Kuhn. He's the tire specialist for Tony Stewart's number 14. And Aaron told me that on half of a run, only about 80%, I should say 20% of the tire on the left is gone. So you still have 80% of the tire to the good. So those lefts are just not wearing out hardly at all. He said, but what happens is, and this is what gets kind of crazy to explain to some of the race fans at home. Kyle Wally, you can probably put it into better words than I can. You lose some of the good of the tire as far as that drive up off the corner. So the tire wear is still okay, but that really good grippy part of the tire tends to slip away, even though you've got more than 60% of the tire left if you go 2 stints on it.
But, yeah, and that's an interesting strategy on those guys' part. I mean, you know, I think it's a good one. Because if you're going to make a run at the end, you want your good tires on the right-hand side. The tires they get to a point where you've got to be easy on the throttle because you don't have a drive off like Ralph was talking about. You just don't have a drive off the corner. But to do what they're doing, they're just setting themselves up for their last pit stop.
Yeah, which is great. And we saw it with Steve. We saw it with the 20 car when they won a couple of weeks ago. We're not going to beat this other guy. Let's do something totally different. The 14 has not dominated this race. He's just run up front. So the way to beat these guys is to go to a different strategy. I applaud Steve Addington for that. A gutsy call to try a totally different type strategy.
It's all worked out. They're inside the top 5 right now. Kurt Busch, your race leader. 199 laps complete here at New Hampshire. Caution of the day, Ford debris, leaders on pit road. Top right of your screen, Kurt Busch going 4 tires. Top left, Casey Kane went with 2. His teammate Jeff Gordon did the same. 14. And here they come off of pit road. Tony Stewart, right side.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Wally. And Stewart wins the battle off the pit lane, gaining 3 positions. Burton, status quo, also took 2 tires. In fact, everyone inside the top 10 going with tires. Only 2 of them. Jeff Gordon up 3 positions. And the big gainer, Kevin Harvick, plus 9. We'll reset the running order when we continue from New Hampshire. 96 laps to go for the Sprint Cup Series in Loudon, New Hampshire. Cleaning up our 6th caution of the day. Everybody coming down pit road. They're going to have to make one more trip down. So let's find out what everybody's thinking as we go down the stretch. We start with Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Tony Stewart was starting to lose the drive off the corner, and the center of the corner was going away as well. Just before that pit stop, they took 2 right side tires of fuel, Marty.
Ralph, Luke Lambert's paying attention to this race. Jeff Burton took 2 tires on the left side, just like Tony Stewart did last time. By the way, Kurt Busch, your leader, coming to pit road, 4 tires. He'll restart 11th, Pat.
A great move by Jeff Gordon's team. Gained 3 spots with the right side tire strategy move. Al Gustafson told him, we've got to make one more stop. Get all you can get. You do not have to conserve. Chris?
Well, Matt Kenseth took 4 tires on the previous stop, and he took 4 tires again on this stop. He said the car is good over the run. Jason Radcliffe just setting up for that final pit stop. Hopefully just taking 2 tires on that one.
And Chris, I think we all remember what happened a couple of weeks ago at Kentucky. Jason Radcliffe called for no tires. Matt Kenseth winning the battle off the pit road, got right back in the game, and ended up getting his 4th win of the year. So the top 10 all took 2 tires. First guy with 4, as Marty pointed out, Kurt Busch. He restarts 11th. Front row belongs to Tony Stewart and Jeff Burton. They have combined for 7 wins here. Green flag back in the air as we complete lap 207. Gordon not wasting any time. Casey Kane hanging with Tony Stewart on the restart.
Ooh, a little loose. Burton got a little bit loose. Little contact with the 2, but...
And who's that help out? Jeff Gordon. 3 wide. Gordon, Burton, and Harvick into the corner.
Now they made it through.
The balance of patience and aggression. Here's Gordon working on his teammate, and Matt Kenseth, who got 4 tires. Chris just told us that. He's right in that mix as well, already up to 8th. He picked up a lot of ground.
Kyle Busch down there underneath the 42 car, making it 3 wide. picked up 2 spots on that on the straightaway alone, and we got another caution.
It's for debris in turn 2. 7th caution of the afternoon. You know who this works out good for? Matt Kenseth. He got those 4 tires, went from 14th to 7th, and now you close them all back together. Huh?
Yep.
The other guys that took 4, Kurt Busch restarted 11th, dropped to 13th, and Kyle Busch into the 11th position.
Stewart really didn't want to see that.
No.
Because those guys were, as hard as they were racing back there, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and back, Stewart and Casey Kane were just pulling away from the field.
7th caution of the day. A good thing for Denny Hamlin, running 29th. He got the free pass. 2nd in this race a year ago. He won it in the fall. Out front right now, Tony Stewart. Under caution for the 7th time today at New Hampshire. 212 of 301 laps complete. And now we go KFC fresh off the wire. Our 7 cautions today. And we've averaged 7 cautions in the last 10 races here at New Hampshire, but only got 3 in this race a year ago. In fact, 7 matches the total we had in both races here in 2012. Restart puts Tony Stewart, Casey Kane on the front row, Brad Keselowski and Jeff Burton right behind him.
Yeah, Marty Schneider reported during the commercial that Jeff Burton had a little bit of trouble on that last restart. He spun the tires, and that's why he dropped back so much.
Row 3, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson.
Looked like Casey Kane spun the tires on that restart.
He was dogging Tony Stewart last time when we went green, but not here. Jeff Burton in front of him. And he's not the only one getting out there. Jimmy Johnson making up some ground. How about this 3 wide? Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, and here comes Kenseth sticking his nose right in the middle of it.
And that's where you can see those 4. That's where the tires come into play right there.
Fresh tires
through the corner.
Create confidence, right?
And I'm going to tell you, obviously that was a confident, aggressive move for one guy to go out of the middle and for him to stick his car up in the middle lane there.
When Kenseth pitted at lap 203, he got 4 tires. All these other drivers with 2. Most on the right, Jeff Burton got less.
Trying to clear the 24. Just he can roll through. Well, the 24 is awfully strong there on the high side, but there Kenseth gets a little bit better bite off the corner and takes the spot.
Matt's up to 6 now. Kyle Busch lurking behind him. He too got 4 tires when we were last on pit road. And Kurt Busch, who has dominated this race, also got 4 on that last cycle, but he's stuck back in the 12th position. Pretty good segment of the race for Joe Gibbs Racing. Denny Hamlin got the free pass, back on the lead lap for the first time in quite a while. Talked about Matt Kenseth moving up, and here's Kyle Busch taking 7th away from Jeff Gordon. If you're Tony Stewart, you don't want a bunch of restarts late, but he's managed these 2 quite well.
Yeah, he has managed these 2 really well, and he is really good at that. He's really good at bringing them down to the line. You don't hear a lot of people complain about how he does it. It's just straight up, but he seems to beat those guys off the line. You know, we talked about Burton getting a bad start the time before, got a really good start that. And I don't think we've not talked a lot about Stewart-Haas Racing or Richard Childress Racing today. 2 organizations we don't usually talk about, and they're running 1st and 2nd.
8th caution of the day for Danica Patrick, who goes around off of turn 2.
But see, this is where I think it starts to hurt maybe the 14 car Kyle, because every time the 20 gets a restart, he gets closer to Tony Stewart, and he's on better tires.
Brandon, help her out right here.
Yeah, every caution he gets 2 to 4 positions.
Right.
It seems like. So, I mean, you're exactly right.
It would be better if it stayed green for the 14 car than to having these short runs and getting cautions.
Well, not just Matt Kenseth. You got Kyle Busch up there now that's making some ground, and
got 4 tires, right.
Yeah, let's see what happened to the 10 car over in 1 and 2.
Danica was running 26 when she got turned around. Going to be far left of your screen there.
Yeah, she definitely got turned around.
Yes. It looks like AJ just got up into her and got into the left rear and the worst place. You know what I mean? Coming up off the corner there. Yeah, by that time that she's already around, but definitely looked like AJ just drove up into the left rear quarter panel of her.
Which reminds me,
Stewart stays out and everybody else comes in.
Let's go to Matt Kenseth's pit, Chris.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth pitting fuel only on the 5, and tires on the 99. Marty.
Some of these guys, Chris, are going to go fuel only. It'll be right side for Jeff Burton, and fuel going to be close to get to the end, Matt.
And the 24 of Gordon is taking rights. No, yeah, rights of 24. Rao.
He's not.
Well, Jeff Gordon had to hesitate leaving pit road as Denny Hamlin came in. That hurt the 24 on that pit stop. Tony Stewart stayed out. They must believe they had to come again. And everybody else coming down. These pit stops at lap 219. Can they go the distance? They'll be saving fuel from here. We're back after a break on TNT. Going to go back green at lap 222. Tony Stewart was the race leader when the caution came out. He stayed out. Some drivers outside the top 15 that did as well. Juan Pablo Montoya, Bobby Labonte, Eric Almirola, Brian Vickers, and Ryan Newman. They're the top 6 for the restart. First of those that pitted here under caution on the restart will be Brad Keselowski. He goes 7th.
Is not going away easy right here. And you know, when you look at that top 5 and you look at the 14 and the 42 and the 43 and the 47. And
what was that?
That was Ryan Newman and Kyle Busch about getting together.
These guys, but these are guys that haven't been up front all day. From Eric Almirola back all the way back to the 55 with Vickers. Vickers was 1 lap down at one point in time. Here he is in the top 5. These guys that have changed, as you see Eric fighting for second place, fighting hard for second place. These are guys that the 18 of Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth and these guys have not raced with them all day long. They're going to have to race with these guys and come back up through there.
How about this 3 wide?
Hey, Kyle, the reason Eric Almirola.
Kurt Busch and Ryan Newman around. Matt Kenseth
just stop. Yeah. Inside, hold your line.
Matt Kenseth got in the 78 pretty hard there.
Matt spun, got in the back of the 78 or got in the quarter panel of the 78 and spun him around and then almost took himself out getting up into the race. You know, I think the 39 car Ryan Newman, just an innocent bystander there.
You always got it when you see something like that. You always got to think about, I wonder if something happened a lap or two prior between those two guys for that to happen.
And this car is hurt right here.
Yeah.
You see the left front's towed way in as he comes back around.
Poor guys, just get clear what you can on the tires. Get tires on it. We got at least 1-2 flats, so make sure we get the back up.
You know what? Matt may not have got into him as hard. By that angle, it didn't look like he really got into him that hard.
I take that
the
back.
other angle, it looked like he really. This angle, it looked like he gave him a shot.
Yeah, it almost looks like as he comes across, he gets him in the right rear and gets him a little wiggly. But it's almost like he took all the air off the spoiler as he swept across the back of the car.
Yep.
That was the battle for 8th. And let's not forget, coming into this race, Kurt Busch was 9th in the championship.
And then Matt gets hit. That's why Matt ends up there. He gets into the 5. He tries to cut down below him, and he ends up there.
But I don't think he got much damage, talking about Matt Kenseth.
No,
he
got stopped. He's going to have to get tires. But you see him, he gets hit right here, which sends him up.
Get down, inside, clear high, caution.
I think that was just, I think going back and looking at it, looked like the 78 just slid across the nose of the 20, and it was just one of those really slight touches, or it took the air off the spoiler.
Yeah.
And
he might have
Newman just, poor Newman got the worst of it, and he had nothing to do with any of it.
And we've talked about this all day long. If Matt got into him, and Matt could have just barely touched him, okay? And we've heard these guys all day long say, I'm loose getting in. When you're loose getting in and you're tiptoeing in, you're 3 wide, you're on the inside, you're trying to slow it down and put wheel into it. It doesn't take much at all to send you around.
9th caution of the day. Here's what Matt Kenseth and the team were saying on the radio under this caution.
I'm sorry, Jason. There's just nothing I can do. That's 78. being who he is, went 3 wide, so I lifted and let him go out of there, and he went straight past me and cleaned the 39 out right in front of me. There was nowhere for me to go.
Yeah, so Matt feels like he didn't touch him. And we've heard guys today on the radio say, I didn't touch him, and we saw it on TV that they did touch. But, yeah, it's really hard to tell there. But like as Matt said, he backed out, let the 78 go in the corner. Then he was going to cross over to the inside, and as he crossed over, whether he got into him or not, it's so close. But he could have just took the air off and sent him up.
Window net is down. Kurt Busch climbed from the car. He's okay, but unfortunately, bad afternoon for him. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series rolling through New England on a Sunday afternoon. 301 laps at the Magic Mile, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Tony Stewart, the race leader. Go now with our Cars.com. All drive, no drama. The focus on smoke. 28 starts here, 3 wins, 14 top 5s. This is his kind of day, hot and slick at a flat track.
His kind of racetrack, according to those stats. His kind of day, okay, but that's his kind of racetrack.
Feeling quite comfortable out front with just over 70 laps to go. Back after a break on TNT. The NASCAR fans in New England, some of the best. And they have turned out big time on this Sunday afternoon. NASCAR Sprint Cup teams beginning the second half of the 2013 season. 69 laps away from the finish. Tony Stewart leads this race. Eric Almirola behind him. You got Juan Pablo Montoya, Bobby Labonte, Brian Vickers, the top 5. And then after that, the drivers that pitted under caution at lap 219. Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Casey Kane, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, the top 10. Our 9th caution of the day for an incident involving Kurt Busch and Ryan Newman. Our Chris Neville tried to catch up with Kurt. He declined our interview. You see him walking away here. Ryan Newman in the garage with Marty Snyder.
His team had just made a fuel mileage play, got him into the top 10, and then what happened, Ryan?
We just got whacked by a bunch of guys. The 18 hit me first, the 2 hit me next, and then I guess it was Kurt that went underneath 3 wide and bypassed the 20 and come and flipped us and knocked us into the fence and took himself out. That's the best I can tell. I don't know, but
there you see the replay.
Yeah, I guess the 20 had a little influence on it, but yeah, we were just we kind of were in a bad spot, having a little bit older tires. We didn't have the greatest car, but got to thank Wicks for jumping on board and sponsoring us. That's not the press we wanted to give them, but just a lot of disrespect from a bunch of guys on restarts, and comes around, goes around, man.
Has it been like that much of the day, you feel like, Ryan?
No, I mean, and that was crunch time. I mean, that's you're in the last window there, and everybody was pretty much done on fuel and tires at that point, so I didn't expect to get hit, but I remember who hit me.
You got to remember that, don't you, Adam? And got to give Ryan credit, too. He's probably working as hard as the crew guys in trying to get this car back out on the racetrack, if he can. Adam?
And, Marty, he mentioned fuel mileage. A lot of laps under caution. That's going to help those drivers that pitted at lap 219. Matt Kenseth dropped from a spot in the top 10 to 28. That's where he will be on the restart. Up front, Tony Stewart and Eric Almirola. Smoke has led the last 32 laps, and he's going to be out front at the green flag here.
And like Ryan mentioned, on these restarts now, you're going to see a little bit less and less respect. It's time to get what you can get, even if you got to knock somebody around a little.
Yeah, but as Ryan said also, we run a little bit older tires and a little bit different cycle than these guys, and that's what I was saying before the accident happened. We've got these guys up front. We've got the 43 car of Eric Almirola. We've got the 17 car. These guys, they're on a little bit different cycle, on a little bit different older tires, some of them are, and these guys are going to have to fight their way through them, and when that happens, you have an accident like we had before.
First of that group on fresher tires, the 18 of Kyle Busch, 4th right now, but working over Bobby Labonte, who gets sideways coming off a 2. And there goes Casey Kane out of line, trying to save it down the back straightaway.
That was a good save right there.
Casey was running inside the top 5, actually was 7th, kicks him outside the top 10.
That was a great save because he was headed for the road course on the infield, coming out of the middle like that.
Reminded me of what happened to him with a few laps to go at Daytona last week. Same spot, middle of the back straightaway. Here he's able to save it and soldier on. And now we've got caution. Travis Kvapil and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. together, our 10th yellow of the afternoon.
And we saw Ricky up there running 4th or 5th in the 18 car, racing hard with Ricky. Ricky on a different cycle. Ricky's mad at somebody right here.
They were racing for 22nd. Hard for me to believe. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who's been so consistent in his rookie year, still looking for his first top 10 this season. It's not going to happen today.
He just got talked down.
Yeah, he got talked down right there. Yeah, because he run up there and started passing cars.
Edge.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't trying to get back to the pits fast. He was going somewhere.
No one understands driver emotion like Wally Dallenbach. Here's the replay.
Let's see. Did Danica turn him?
Wow. They just got all hooked together there.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell from that
interesting dinner.
Yeah. They were just, it's hard to tell from that angle, but I mean, it's almost, a little bit of a replay from the accident that we saw before. You come down in there, you see him on the inside right there. He looks like he gets turned.
She may got hit, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to tell whether she,
yeah. No, there's some damage on her, there's some damage on her right rear bumper right there. But it looked like she got hooked to the right.
She got hooked, but it's almost like she got into his left rear quarter panel, turned him up the racetrack into the 93. So it's like somebody had got into her.
Wow.
Wow, they're running at each other right there. I think he ran back up there and ran into her. Which they'll talk to him after the race about that.
We had some fireworks in the garage after yesterday's Nationwide Series race. 63 laps to go in this one, and we may have some more yet today. Let's hear from Kurt Busch, Marty.
Well, he's had a chance to cool off. What happened in that accident? Could you see? I just got hit from behind. There was 3 wide action. Everybody's going hard, and I think they're about ready to get the gear in it, so we're going to go jump back in the car. But, Kenseth was in the middle, and he was in the middle on the back straightaway. There you go. So I don't need to see it. The car gets light when there's no air on the rear spoiler back there, So I'm going to get back in the car. Credit to the Furniture Row guys. They are working hard to get Kurt back into the car. They expect to be out here in just moments, Adam.
Entering this race, Marty, he was inside the top 10 in the Sprint Cup standings for the first time in more than 50 weeks. With the accident, he's now 12th, 15 out of the top 10, and scored 36th in today's race.
There's so many what-ifs with that team this year. I mean, you got that. You have Michigan, where they wrecked. You have Sonoma, where he was dominant at that race place and made a mistake on pit lane. Then this. I mean, these guys have been fast enough to stay in the top 10, but they just have not been able to put it together.
Hey, guys, real quick, let's take a look at our top 6. I feel safe in saying that everyone that pitted at lap 219, which would include Kyle Busch, with all these cautions, they can make it. Tony Stewart, who last pitted at lap 98, he's loving every ounce of these cautions, because remember, at a track like this, it's about 2-to-1 ratio, 2 cautions to 1 green. But the drivers I want you to keep an eye on, Eric Almirola in that 43, who's running second. Brian Vickers in the 55, who's running 6th, because they came to pit road when most everybody stayed out with 90 to go. I think with all these cautions, these drivers are now starting to think about, we can make it to the end.
What about the 43 of Eric Almirola, Chris?
Yeah, like Larry just said, he's got to do 90 laps or 89 laps because he pitted on lap 211. Also took 4 tires on that stop.
Got 26 cars on the lead lap right now.
So, Larry, you're saying you think the 14 can make it?
I'm not saying I'm thinking he can make it, but I think if we keep having these cautions, and I think we're going to have more cautions because, as Ryan Newman alluded to, Kurt Busch, these guys are ramping it up now, especially on these restarts. I think if he gets about another 8 to 10 more cautions, possibly he could make it.
Wouldn't be surprising. 3 of the last 5 races here. 1 on fuel mileage. Tony Stewart out front right now.
We probably won't press it.
We've cleaned up our 10th caution of the day at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. On the restart, Tony Stewart leads. Eric Almirola second. Kyle Busch is third. Keep your eye on him. He's got fresher tires. Last pitted at lap 219. He thrives in these situations.
43 car drove it in there pretty good.
Yes, he did. But he opened that door for that 18.
Somebody else to watch, Jimmy Johnson. He's 6th and fresher tires than a couple of those guys in front of him. There goes Kyle around Bobby Labonte for 3rd. Brian Vickers trying to make the pass as well. Montoya and Burton have been good today. They're racing for position behind Jimmy Johnson. That's for 7th. And as these guys work turns 1 and 2, coming in behind the field off the pit lane, Kurt Busch returning to the track.
That 18 car is getting a run up off the corner, and he is dive bombing these corners to get it in and take that position away.
Saw Kurt back on track there, and I admire the patience of younger brother Kyle on this restart. Just letting it come to him, Wally.
I'm not sure I saw a lot of patience on that restart. I think Kyle's in a hurry. He's trying to get there.
He wasn't out of line before turn 1, which...
Yeah, so he was patient for the first 200 yards.
Yeah. See Kevin Harvick working over Brad Keselowski. Tony Stewart leading this race, and this is what he said under caution a moment ago.
We're on that number, but it's going to be tight. Go like hell. See what we can get out there, and then we'll start saving. Copy.
Yeah, and that, the one advantage that he has, we talked about it a lot, he doesn't have to worry about any aero push or anything on his car. Right now, he's in clean air, and this is the best situation he can be with the tires he's running and everything else. I mean, he looks up in the mirror, he's going to see that Kyle Busch car getting bigger and bigger, but he is in the best spot right now, being able to stay out front.
Hey, we can talk about Kyle Busch all we want, but what about his teammate Denny Hamlin? A couple of problems early in this race when a lap down, was running back in the 26th position, and the guy that has won here 2 times in the top 10.
Yeah, and Denny, and you know, he had that cut tire. He was just in the place to take the lucky dog, had the cut tire. He's already a lap down. He comes back. He's made it back up. He's in the top 10. And Brian Vickers the same way, up there running 3rd and 4th. Brian was a lap down, has made that lap up, and has come back to be a top 5 car in this race.
Both had problems on that cycle of green flag pit stops early. Denny had a lug nut missing, had to come back down, and Brian Vickers leaving the pit lane with equipment. This is the battle for 3rd. Mitch and Brian Vickers working over Eric Almirola, going to grab the spot here.
Eric's car seems to be working fairly well. He's getting in the corner pretty good, but it seems to be rolling through the middle. I'm not sure he's getting up off the corner the way he wants to, but he makes time on the entry and through the center of the corner.
Remember Matt Kenseth involved in that accident, slowing down to avoid Ryan Newman and Kurt Busch a while ago. Had to pit, started outside the top 25, and now he has made his way back into the top 15, scored 14th right now.
You know, we talk about Eric being 4th there. Just behind him is Bobby Labonte. We've not talked about Bobby Labonte all year long, except when they switch drivers. So it's really good to see him have a strong run here. We've seen guys like him. We see guys like Jeff Burton. They're guys that don't normally have strong runs. To be able to come to a place like this, track position is so important and so key. If you can get it, then these guys can keep it. And I think Jeff and Bobby have done a great job today.
Jeff Burton, another one that we talked about earlier, running inside the top 10 and trying to get some more.
He is all over Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, he was.
They're racing for 6th right there. Johnson, who started 43rd today, had qualified 2nd. His time not allowed on Friday. He's made his way to the front, but never been a threat, Wally.
No, and you can see where the 31 car is better. It's right in the center of the corner. It looks like, you know, Jimmy's car probably a little bit tight. It's shoving the nose in the center, and the 31's able to drive it out underneath him.
And that says a lot, because we hear these guys say, once I get behind somebody, I've got that aero push, I can't do anything. Jeff's car is really working good through the center of the corner.
Danica Patrick out of the race, Marty.
And out of her car. Do you know what happened, Danica?
Well, you know, it's good to see it, to get the visual on it, but, you know, what it felt like was either I misjudged the braking or everyone jammed up a little bit. I got sideways trying to slow down so that I didn't drive up in the back of anyone, and it just got sideways, and there's nothing you can do. The worst part is that, you know, obviously I didn't want to take anybody with me. I feel bad. What can I say? We were having a reasonable race, and Just didn't mean to do it.
But you're okay?
Yeah.
Out of the car, though, and a lot of work to get that 10 car if they're going to get it back into the race, Adam. And real quick, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is in the garage area in his car trying to get that car fixed so they can get back out.
You know, I got to give her some props for saying I might have misjudged the braking point, because that's what it looks like. She just ran in on him faster than she thought she was, jumped on the brakes, the car got sideways, she got into Ricky got in to the Travis and those guys and took all three of them out. But it takes a lot sometimes to admit that you made a mistake.
And she has taken care of equipment in this, her rookie season. If she's not able to get back in, this would only be her third DNF of 2013. Things starting to heat up here for fifth. Bobby Labonte has that position, but Jeff Burton once again gaining ground and trying to get into the top 5. The 47's been great today, Chris.
Yeah, good to see this team running up front. He has had some alternator issues throughout this race, so we've been paying attention to that. But more importantly, can these cars in front make it on fuel? We're going to really have to watch that, especially if we stay green. But one thing that's helping them out is some cloud cover has rolled in, and we've seen about 15 degrees come out of the track as soon as those clouds come in. That track temp was up to 120 when the sun was shining on it. Right now, about 105.
And Chris, that reminds me. Remember early in this race when Dave Rogers, crew chief for Kyle Busch, said, when the clouds come out, our car's going to come to life. Kyle's running second right now as Jeff Burton finally makes the pass and gets around Bobby Labonte for fifth.
Yeah, I think Labonte finally just kind of cracked the throttle going into turn 3 and just let him go because 31 was all over him.
Guys, just to make note, Bobby Labonte in that 47, he's on the same fuel agenda as Tony Stewart, the 14-hour leader. Bobby was last on pit road at lap 203, so he too would have to go 98 laps. The other driver is back in 8th position, Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42. He's not been to pit road since lap 203.
And perhaps the reason Bobby's sliding a little bit is he has gone in to fuel conservation mode. We'll continue to keep an eye on him. The advantage at the front for Tony Stewart, 0.3 of a second. And Larry mentioned Juan Pablo Montoya last pitted at lap 203, and he has company. Pole sitter Brad Keselowski is there, and right behind him, Jenny Hamlin, who we mentioned back in the top 10.
Sit down, safe fuel, safe fuel, safe fuel.
Caution is out. Jeff Gordon, a 3-time winner here and a 4-time champion, spins it. The 11th yellow flag of the afternoon. Might be a bit of a blessing for Jeff, who was running 20th, and I don't think he was real happy with his car.
That's unusual to see him spin a car out. Yeah, just, you know.
What's your car like right there?
Looks like he's got a little damage to the
maybe he got
a
on that.
And he had been racing with Paul Menard, Wally.
We'll take a look at it down. He goes underneath. It's probably somewhere to 78, and well,
yeah, that's like that's just
everybody's. He came across me and I barely touched him.
Yeah, I'm out of patience and I don't like you racing me, so
yeah,
sorry.
That looked like it's late in the day and I'm frustrated, so I'm going to take my anger out on you.
Yeah, and Jeff gave him a slide job, so I can see where Paul may have been a little bit upset about that. And like Kyle said, it's late in the day.
Yep.
We've been arguing all day with this racetrack, and this is when the tempers are very, very short.
Joe Nemechek, the first car 1 lap down, so he gets the free pass. And once again, as you see Montoya coming down pit road, a few others coming in. Matt Kenseth is on pit road, Chris.
Yeah, he gave up all that track position when he had that contact with Kurt Busch and Ryan Newman down in 1. Well, he's made a nice charge back to the front, up to 13th, but they're taking 4 tires and fuel on this stop.
Yeah, I'm just not sure with all the track position they're going to lose if that's going to help them too much.
Gordon, Truex, Montoya also pitted. Clint Boyer came down. Staying out Tony Stewart, and these caution laps help him as he continues to save fuel. 40 laps to go at New Hampshire. The McDonald's Pass Go sweepstakes has given one lucky fan at Loudon a chance to win $200 each time Jamie McMurray passes the start-finish line. For your chance to win big bucks on a Big Mac, play Monopoly at McDonald's starting this Tuesday. McMurray started 11th, right now in the 15th position.
Somebody's making some money on that.
Cha-ching. Watch Kyle Busch on the restart. Inside of race leader Tony Stewart. Nice job on the restart for Eric Almirola, trying to make the outside lane work.
Made it work. Very nice move. But Kyle's not having any of it.
I told you he's being patient here late, huh?
Yeah, watch him run into him right there.
That's good for Tony Stewart, though. I mean, every lap that he turns out front, the easier it makes his life down the stretch and the farther he can pull away.
Eric's doing a great job. He is not going away. He's not just letting you have that position.
Jeff Burton side by side with Brad Keselowski trying to make it work.
Boy, Burton's got a really good car right now.
And it looks like he needs green flag laps because after a restart, not always great. But once we get going, he marches to the front.
You just look at how his car is cutting down in the center of these corners. While all these other guys are sliding and searching for grip, that 31 car can get lower than everybody. That's where he's passing everybody. And he's making it look easy.
Got Brad Keselowski. Here he is on Bobby Labonte. The advantage at the front for Tony Stewart. 0.8 of a second that time around.
He's been really strong down here in 1 and 2. That's where his car looks better than anybody.
Right there. He just cuts and gets back on the gas.
How about it, Marty?
Isn't that Jeff Burton's career signature? Always good at the end of a very long run. And remember when we all pitted at lap 219, all these cars did? They took on 2 tires. You see back there Jimmy Johnson trying to get around Bobby Labonte as well. Burton and those guys took on 2 tires. I think that's another effect we're seeing right now, guys. Those 2 tires coming into play for Jeff Burton as well.
See the 47 car, Bobby Labonte's going back and forth. Almost like he's trying to see if he's got a flat tire or he got some dirt and debris on there.
Another driver making a charge late in this race, Kevin Harvick. Haven't talked about him a lot today, but he's inside the top 10 and trying to finish there for the 9th consecutive race. That team has really been consistent since the springtime. Ralph Harvick in the top 10. You expect him to make a late race run, don't you?
Well, he was looking for the late portion of this day because the longer we got into the race, the later in the day it got. All of a sudden, that 29 car started to come to life. With about 45 to go, all of a sudden he jumped on the radio and said, hey, we got a pretty good race car here.
As low as 31st today is Kevin Harvick, and now he finds himself in the 9th position. Now we go back and listen to what Paul Menard had to say on the radio. He and Gordon got together, bringing out our 11th caution of the day. Listen in.
Runs into me, runs off the track. Ain't gonna get away with that. 10-4. I think a few of them need that from you.
I mean, eventually you just get fed up with that, and it after a long day at the track like this, you're going to get bumped and moved around, but then you get to the point where it's this stage of the race, and you just can't let anybody take anything away from you.
Exactly. And we heard it and saw it in Ryan Newman's interview and in his face and in his voice. He was just frustrated. I got hit by this guy. I got hit by that guy. Finally got taken out. And I think that's the way Paul felt. I got hit. I'm not taking it anymore. I'm not taking it from that guy. And that's what it is. It becomes a lot more take than there is give.
See who's behind him on track. You got Clint Boyer and then Jeff Gordon.
That's 15 hits to 27. 3 and 4. And you can see Paul struggles right there in the center of the corner. He gets in pretty good. Just not rolling through the center. But the 15 can't really do anything with him at this point.
Jeff Burton trying to pick up another position. This the run for 4th. Eric Almirola has that spot, but Burton closing in.
Yeah, you got Kyle Busch closing in on the leader, and those guys are really good up there, but they better hope there's not another caution, because if they have to deal with the 31, they could be in for a big surprise.
Last time around, you mentioned the battle for the lead. Kurt Busch was only 0.3 of a second behind Tony Stewart. And Matt Kenseth has worked his way back into the top 10, Chris.
Yeah, you guys were kind of scratching your heads about them coming in, taking 4 tires, giving up all that track position. They fell from 13th to 21st in doing that. But he told Jason Ratcliffe on the radio, hey, it's going to take me about 5 laps, and I think we can get back up to 13th. Well, after about 7 laps, he's up to 10th now.
Yeah, now all they need is a caution, really.
These guys are racing hard, right?
Really hard. And Eric just finally gave him a little bit of a break going there into the corner.
They might have touched a little bit coming out of turn 4 there, but they've raced hard and had a lot of respect for each other, gave each other a lot of room. I talk about give and take. That was a lot of give right there on both of those guys' part.
And then racing side by side gives an opportunity for Brad Keselowski to pick up a spot.
You see they're right here together coming out of turn 4. Just might have got together right there. Right there, they just run out of room. The wall's to your right side. But, you know, up until that point, those guys had raced really hard for 4 or 5 laps and never touched.
Yeah, I think Jeff was probably in a push situation coming off of 4. He had that wheel turn, and that thing snapped loose on him on the exit.
How about this? A 3-car battle for the lead. You got Tony Stewart out front coming to 26 laps to go. Kyle Busch is right there, and Brian Vickers not far behind. How's Kyle feeling about the latter stages, Marty?
Well, I hate to tell Kyle and Wally, but Adam, you are correct. Kyle Busch being very patient. In fact, when this run started way back at 219, lap 219, when they took fuel only, Dave Rogers said, Bud, you got to do me a favor. That will be 98 laps if we make it to the end on that right front. Remember the problems they had at the beginning of the day with the right front blistering. So Kyle Busch being very patient, trying to work his way around Tony Stewart, but looks like Brian Vickers catching this group as well, Adam.
Yeah, I was going to say, better not be too patient because that 55 car looks like he's the best of the 3 right now.
What do you think in regard to strategy? We look at the top 3, all last pitted on different sequences, Larry.
Absolutely. Now with 25 to go, Kyle Busch in the 18 who pitted on lap 219, that would have been 82 to go. With the number of cautions we've had, I feel he can absolutely make it. But let's talk about Tony Stewart in the 14 car, our leader. Pitted with 98 laps to go. If the fuel window is somewhere around 75 to 78 laps, he needed roughly 40 to 45 caution laps to make it. We've had 32 since he last pitted. Let's look at Brian Vickers in the 55. He pitted with 90 to go. Based on that same fuel window, he needed about 25 to 30 caution laps. We've had 26 as far as him. So I feel good about Vickers. I feel good about Kyle Busch. The guy I'm just not sure, and I'm not sure Steve Addington or anybody knows, is the guy you're looking at, Tony Stewart, but nobody knows how much fuel he's been saving except possibly Tony Stewart.
Man, I don't know about that. I'm not good at math, but I don't think he's close to making it.
I think in the nationwide race yesterday, Kyle went 96, or one of the cars went 96, 98. I can't remember which one it was, which was a long way. But they had all those caution laps at the end. Now I don't know how many.
3 attempts at a green-white checker.
And Larry's got it figured up to saying you've got to have 40-some caution laps. And
but even 32. Right now, he's basically 10 or 15 laps short right now, the way what I just heard.
How much anxiety in the 14 camp, Ralph?
Well, before we got this run of yellow flags here late in the race, I asked Steve Addington, it was probably about 50, 60 to go, and he said, we're close, really close. And then they started getting all these caution flags, and now he was feeling pretty good. Now, of course, we all know crew chiefs. Doesn't mean he's exactly telling me the truth, but they sure seem to feel like they were pretty good. I also spoke to Rodney Childers, who is the crew chief for the 55 of Vickers, quite a while back. He felt they were very solid.
Boy, Vickers is giving that 18 a fit right now.
And Kyle has actually lost some ground to Tony in the last few laps.
Well, it's because he's been busy with the 55 car.
You know, guys, back to Tony Stewart. Yeah, by my calculations, he needed about 40 to 45 caution laps. We've had 32 since he pitted. But again, what I'm watching as far as his lap times, he's almost driving out the rearview mirror. He's almost running that car just as hard as he needs to based on the drivers behind him.
And here's something I'm having a hard time ignoring. Second and third on track right now in the Sprint Cup race. First and second yesterday in nationwide competition. Same tire. Does the track time help out today?
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
Absolutely doesn't hurt. I mean, the car's obviously a little bit different, but track time never hurts.
Yeah, and you know, we're coming in on, 20 laps to go. I'm telling you.
And there he goes. Nice.
As we watch these guys race hard, that 31 car is lurking in the mirror behind these guys. Now, catching and passing are two totally different things. But Burton has been gaining just steadily. A couple of tenths a lap, a couple of tenths a lap.
But I think he can pass him. I think he's the only guy that can pass anybody at this stage in the game. But he's got to get there.
But the way his car rolls through the center of 1 and 2 especially, he just gets that thing rotated and cut and gets back on the gas better than anybody that right now appears of the top 4 or 5.
And Larry's talked a lot about the strategy with the 14 team of Tony Stewart. Last pitted at lap 203. Bobby Labonte did the same. He has started to drift in the latter stages. That 47 car now being scored in the 10th position.
Yeah, and I think he's in that conservation mode. He run in front of that 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson couldn't do anything with Bobby Labonte. Couldn't catch him, couldn't pass him. Finally, Bobby pulls over, lets him go. And when Bobby does, he's falling back 3 or 4 positions. I think he's in that conservation mode to say we're just got to finish and get a decent finish.
At some point, the 14's got. I think if the 14 gets passed by the 55, I believe he'll go into conservation mode a lot more than he is when he's leading the race.
Yes. Kyle, you and I were talking during break earlier about Brad Keselowski. This team has had a great weekend. They need speed. They need good runs. The defending champ has not won this year. Started on pole running 5th. This has been exactly what the doctor ordered for them.
Yeah, they needed this. They needed something to stop that slide. Since the Texas incident with the rear end where they were fined and penalized, they've just not found that consistency. And they need to stop that at some point in time. Something to hang their hat on. And I think they can hang their hat on coming to New Hampshire, setting on the pole, and having a solid run, as we see with 55, who's just eating that 14 up right now.
Yeah. Less than 0.2 of a second behind as they come across the start-finish line. 15 laps remaining at New Hampshire, and Brian Vickers is there.
Yeah, this just gets to the point. I think the 55 car is much better than the 14 right now.
Yes.
So this is just a matter of time. I think the 14 is just not rolling through the center like he was earlier.
Battle for the lead. Brian Vickers inside of Tony Stewart. At the start-finish line that time, it's Vickers out front. He completes the pass as we go into turn 1.
Nice and smooth,
but 55 on point with 14 to go.
Nice and smooth.
Now, it's going to be interesting to see what Tony does now. He's pretty much committed. You guys are committed at this time. This is our strategy. But, right there behind him is the 18 again, who Vickers is pulling away from. But that 31 is right there on the back bumper of the 18 car.
And you've got to give a call to Rodney Childers, the crew chief for this 55 team.
Oh.
Top 5 last week at Daytona with Michael Waltrip. Mark Martin spends a lot of time behind the wheel. And here they are in position to win at New Hampshire with Brian Vickers driving.
And Vickers has done a good job every time he's climbed into this car this year.
Yeah, I give Vickers tons of credit for how he's handled the situation and coming back and all that. But that team, we talk about that team all the time. Whether it's Mark driving, whether it's Vickers driving, whether it's
12 to go, man.
They just do a great job of adapting to new drivers week in and week out.
01, 47 behind.
Larry, it's hard to put into words what they're doing here today.
Well, I think what Brian Vickers is doing is he's pretty much making a solid bid that he will be the full-time driver for this 55 car in 2014.
And Larry, how about this? When we came here in September, Vickers was driving the 55 car, had to start at the rear because of an engine change, drove all the way through the field and finished 9th. Wally pointed it out. Every time he gets behind the wheel, he does a nice job. It's been a long time since he went to victory lane. Got to go back to August of 2009 at Michigan. That's 75 starts ago. Vickers doing a great job of massaging the lap traffic. Off of turn 4, 10 laps remaining as he crosses the start-finish line.
And he's working a nice little gap now in between himself and Kyle Busch, and the guy I think he's got to worry about the most right now is that 31, but I just don't think Burton's going to be able to get there.
Yeah, I think Burton's run out. Once Vickers cleared and that the group kind of spread out, then I'm not sure the 31 can get there. As long as Tony was holding him up a little bit, the 31 was coming.
You guys know this as drivers. You never know how long the opportunities are going to last. Brian Vickers, a young, hot shoe. So many people believed in him. He had won races at NASCAR's top level. Then had the blood clot problem. Took him out of the car. And many didn't know if he would ever make it back. Had to stair-step his way back to the top. An opportunity for Michael Waltrip Racing, and here he is taking advantage.
Well, you guys touched on, I think the biggest thing with Brian is his attitude towards this. I mean, everybody wants to be in the car all the time. You don't want to share a car with anybody. But Brian he's taken it well, and he's done a good job, and frankly, he deserves to be in that car full-time next year.
Good battle for third. You got Kyle Busch. Talked a lot about Jeff Burton, how strong he is, and right behind him, Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, this is a good three-way battle right here. Keselowski made up a lot of ground on these two in the last 4 or 5 laps.
All of these drivers last pitted at lap 219, so none of them should have any question marks in regard to fuel mileage. And we're getting a report now that Bobby Labonte, who last pitted at 203, is out of gas, and that's when Tony Stewart pitted.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. I thought he was going to be 10 laps short based on Larry's math. So, and we're right there right now in this window. 7 laps to go.
Yeah, and as you watch Bobby leaving pit road, I hate that for Bobby Labonte and for that team, because, I mean, they showed they can run up front when they get to that place.
Yeah, it would have been nice to put that one to bed.
Tony Stewart losing a lot of ground to the race leader since he gave up the top spot to Brian Vickers. And now as he continues to try and save fuel going down the stretch, 6 laps remaining, Kyle Busch, Jeff Burton, and Brad Keselowski all closing in for the runner-up spot.
Hey, guys, as far as Tony Stewart, think about it. Comes in here 10th in the points. They cannot afford to run out of fuel. He'd be better off to back off and finish 9th or 10th than run out of fuel and leave here back outside the top 10 with 7 races to go.
Yeah, send down for debris on the back. Shut it off. Shut it off.
Never mind.
That changes everything. And I was getting ready to say, I think Larry was right. There's 6 or 7 seconds between him and 7th or 8th place. He could afford to give up with 4 or 5 laps to go, a second or more a lap, and not get kicked too far outside the top 5.
Wally, this could be good news. The caution means he can save more fuel. The bad news is with 5 to go, we could be looking at a green-white checker situation, and if you get that, now you're going to overtime and asking even more out of your fuel mileage.
That is correct. They can play for you or against you.
Yeah.
And you know, I think a 55 car did not want to see this either. I mean, he was cruising to a victory, and now he's got to deal with the restart. I'm not sure he's got to worry about too much about the 14 car on the restart, but there's a couple of guys in that next row that are going to be going after it. I mean, I think 14.
Yellow open seat.
I think the 14 is probably just doesn't have the tires these other guys have right now.
You see these guys, they all charged to the end of the backstretch and cut their cars off. Looked like, and they were just coasting over there.
This is our 12th caution of the day. More here this afternoon than the last 3 races here combined.
Tell you another thing. Tony's got to worry about running out of fuel
on a restart.
Or it's going to get really ugly.
This is where it can get really bad for a guy that's in the first couple of rows to have an issue.
Hey, while we got a chance here, under caution, going down the stretch, want to say thanks to a lot of people who work hard for us. As you see, Denny Hamlin making a stop, Juan Pablo Montoya also on pit road, along with Greg Biffle, who won here 5 years ago. Barb Hanford, Ron Skinner, Fig Newton, always unbelievable with us here in the booth.
Thank you, guys.
Andy Jeffers takes care of us like nobody else, our stage manager. And I know we have a lot of fun with the guy sitting to our left that handles statistics. Russell Windrich not with us this weekend. He was doing the Camping World Truck Series race last night in Iowa. But we thank him, Jimmy Hicks, and Joe Kramer, who put the numbers together so we can sound somewhat intelligent on Sunday afternoons. And Bill Sloboda down with Larry McReynolds also does a great job.
We have an awesome group of people that work with us.
And we are going to go to overtime for the second straight week. It happened last week at Daytona. This race will end in a green-white checker. You get 3 attempts. They line them up. Put the green flag in the air. Once the leader takes the white flag, the next flag ends the race, whether it be the caution or the checker. But if the caution comes out before the leader takes the white flag, we re-rack them and do it again. And as I said, we can get up to 3 attempts at a green-white checker finish. And there's going to be some drama here. Brian Vickers hasn't won in 75 races. A part-time driver for Michael Waltrip Racing leads the event. Tony Stewart last pitted at lap 203. Enormous question marks for him in regard to fuel mileage. He has 3 victories here and is a 3-time champion. Jeff Burton's won here 4 times. He restarts outside of row 2 next to Kyle Busch, who's looking for his 3rd win of 2013.
This is going to get rough.
I think I'd rather be in that outside line.
You're darn right.
With what we know where Tony's at, or where we think we know where Tony's at on these last couple of laps. Because if that thing does have a fuel issue,
if it just sputters,
if it just sputters, it's going to back that inside row up.
Yep.
First attempt at a green-white checker. Vickers, the leader in the outside lane, and Tony Stewart not letting him get away. And there goes Kyle Busch to the inside.
Here we
3
go.
wide into 1.
Wow, look at Vickers up on that high side. Holy cow, that was strong.
Strong move by
Vickers
Vickers,
Stewart and has the lead. A lap and a half to go.
And Stewart's out of gas.
Stewart in the outside lane is rolling slow. Kyle Busch goes by. Jeff Burton, Brad Keselowski doing the same.
Yeah, Tony's out of gas for sure. Well, I thought it kicked back up there.
White flag is out for Brian Vickers.
We're out of field here, guys.
Oh, man. Denny Hamlin just missed Tony Stewart coming down the straightaway.
I'm going to tell you, a great restart by Vickers, but
that was incredible. Hanging on the outside with 2 guys on the inside was pretty awesome.
And Eric Almirola did a great job of being in that outside line, not running all over Tony and getting back down and squeezing into 5th place there.
Brian Vickers hadn't won in 75 races. Running part-time for Michael Waltrip Racing. Welcome back to victory lane. Vickers wins it at New Hampshire.
That's what I'm talking about. Great job. Great job. Great call. Great recovery. Man, I'm so proud of you guys. Thanks for not giving up on me. Ty, Michael, Rob, thanks for the opportunity. Aaron, thank you so much. That is awesome. You are the man, Brian. Thank you so much. Welcome back, baby.
That'll be a popular win in the garage. Lap 211, they came down, topped off the fuel tank, and that was huge. Rodney Childers making that decision.
You know what? That was interesting. Almost every one of those cars, from Kyle to Kurt, or excuse me, from Kyle to Brad and all those guys, rode up beside Vickers and to congratulate him. We saw Matt Kenseth right there coming out of turn 4, all the way back to 9th or 10th place. That's pretty cool right there.
Rodney Childers has got to be one happy man, Ralph.
Well, he is, and so is this crew. You guys put a lot of faith in Brian. You set him up to do it, and he pulled it off for you. You got to be pretty happy with this driver these days.
Yeah, he does a good job for us. Really, all of our guys do. Him and Mark Martin and Michael Waltrip, they all do a really good job for us. Wouldn't be here without any of them, and it's emotional for all of us today. But I'd like to thank Aaron's and Toyota, Sprint, and everybody involved. My guys did a great job all weekend. We had a fast car, and just proud of everybody.
How much does a win like that help him get closer to securing this ride full time next year?
I think it's pretty much a done deal.
And as Brian Vickers climbs from the car and celebrates, about 50 yards from him, sitting idle on the pit lane, Tony Stewart's race car. If it weren't for the green-white checker, would have finished inside the top 5. Instead, 26. Final car on the lead lap.
That's going to probably what that gave him a hit on the points there, right? Yeah, I tell you, that knocked him out of the top 10.
That hurts the point situation, and that, you know, and sometimes you've got to keep the big picture in mind. Especially when we're getting down to 6, 7, 8 races left before the chase. And I think these guys were so focused on a win, it's almost like they let that part slip away.
Brian Vickers driving the Aaron's Dream Machine. And he's living out a dream today. You heard the emotion from crew chief Rodney Childers. The team there to congratulate him. That is one cool scene. Kyle Busch ended up second today, Marty.
Adam, what a scene on the front stretch for Brian Vickers, but Kyle Busch, the other end of that. Man, how'd you hang on to a tight race car, and you made a bold move on that last restart?
Yeah, just, man, I don't know. I think we were the fastest car here today. We definitely the short run. I guess I burned the front tires off it when we're here. I don't know what the deal is, but I definitely cannot. Once we're out front, we're leading, we're doing fine. We get to lap traffic, and I can't turn anymore, So it's just accustomed to how my driving style is, I guess. But I hate it because we have such a great race car here, and this Interstate Batteries Camry was awesome today, and these guys deserve to be in victory lane. And I don't know what to do on them long runs. I mean, that's all there was to it. That's our day, Just got to get better on figuring out what I got to do that in order to be able to pass lap cars.
In the big picture, though, you guys are piling up these top fives, aren't you, with cars that, you don't feel like have been as good on the long run?
Yeah. Our worst finish of finishing races this season is 6th.
Yeah.
All the rest of them have been wadded up in a pile or blown up or something like that, and they've been... Daytona was 12th. I crossed the line 12th, but I was wrecking. So that was a good day. But, I mean, we certainly have great race cars. Dave Rogers and Chris Gabehart and Steve Hogler, these guys are doing a great job for me. Really, really proud of them and what they've been able to do for us and giving us some good equipment. And the guys on pit road have been awesome, too. So we just got to keep knocking these out. It's good to get an off week, rebound a little bit, go to Indy, and start our last 18 weeks.
Another impressive top 5 for Kyle Busch, Chris.
Well, Jimmy Johnson goes from 43rd to 6th. 6th place, that's got to feel like a win today, Jimmy.
We had a great race car. Once you get to the top 10, it's a different game trying to pass cars and work your way to the front there. Really, the lane that you were in on a restart had a huge impact on how many cars you could pass. And a few times I was on the outside, I made my way to 3rd, and then a few times on the inside, and I slipped back. But all in all, a great day for the Lowe's team, and just very, very proud of the effort these guys put in week and week out. We're all going to enjoy this off week and then come back and get ready to go at Indy.
Just listening to all the drivers out there, it sounded like it was so difficult to pass today. How did you get around 37 cars?
It was tough. It wasn't easy by any means. You had to make quick work of people on the restarts, and then we all kind of fell in line, and you would have to wait for the guy in front of you to bobble and make a mistake. And these guys are all pretty good out there. There weren't many opportunities to get, but we just fought through the day and got our Lowe's Chevrolet to 6th.
Once again, the 48 guys show you why they're a championship team.
And Chris, if you had said before this race it would be a Michael Waltrip racing driver in victory lane, no one would have been surprised. Clint Boyer always good here. Martin Truex Jr. has a great resume at New Hampshire. But it's Brian Vickers who gets the checkered flag, his 3rd career victory. Welcome into the NASCAR on TNT post-race show. Michael Waltrip Racing celebrating on the pit lane after Brian Vickers' win today.
Boys, good deal! Good deal! Nice job, guys. Yeah, we'll get you some. Yeah, coach! Yeah, dog! Congratulations, man. We won. Hey, Mark! Hey, Mark! Good job, man. Yeah, Dwayne.
And now the party continues in victory lane. Here's Matt Yoakum.
Adam, back in 2009, a win for Brian Vickers, then a medical issue in 2010, came back in 2011, and then Red Bull shut down. He scored a part-time ride. The road you've traveled, does that have an even greater impact on this victory here today?
Absolutely. It couldn't have been filled with more trials and tribulations, but, thanks to so much support from friends and family, and, this year my fiance, Sarah, she's stuck in traffic right now. I want her to get back, but I got to thank Ty for making that phone call and giving me the chance, and Rob and Michael believing in me, this whole crew, the Aaron's Dream Machine. Man, this thing was good today. We had a mishap in the pits and got us a lap down, but we got it back, and one of our crew members had to leave. The engine tuner, Denny, his father's not doing well, so we're thinking of him. My bus driver, Randy, his mother's not doing well, thinking of her, but man, just thank God for the chance and the opportunity to come back, and this team and Rodney and just everyone believing in me and giving me a second chance. It means the world.
And the statement that it sends, not one, not two, but 3 different drivers compete in this machine all during the year. It's hard enough to win just with one driver, but look what this group does, going around with 3.
It really does, and that's a testament to the whole team, everyone in MWR, Rob, Michael, leadership, Ty, and obviously Rodney as a crew chief, doing a great job with all 3 drivers, and the support we get from Aaron's. The support from Aaron's and Toyota is what makes this happen, and I can't thank them enough for the opportunity.
So do you think this locks you into this machine for next year?
Nothing's a guarantee in life. I've learned that the hard way. Even when you think it's done, it's not done, but it definitely goes a long way. And I can tell you, Chris, there's a huge celebration right now over in England because that's where Rob Kaufman and Michael Waltrip are. They're at the Goodwood Festival of Speed.
Tony, you and Bobby Labonte were on the same fuel strategy there at the end. We saw Bobby run out with about 7 laps to go. How nervous were you?
Pretty nervous. I mean, it's hard to calculate how much we're saving on the caution. So thought we were about 3/4 of a lap to the good there before that last caution. So obviously didn't get saved as much as I thought we would.
Yeah, obviously a big hit for Tony. Comes home 26th today.
After last week, Chris, he had gone from 15th to 10th. Smoke drops outside the top 10. We'll see him on the points page in a moment. Jimmie Johnson continues to lead. He and Matt Kenseth, those 4 victories, the best of anyone in the Sprint Cup Series. And you see Brad Keselowski and Casey Kane both getting back inside the top 10 today.
That's a big jump for the 2 car. They just
Page
keep
2
rotating.
of the Sprint Cup Series point standings. Martin Truex Jr., number 1 in the wild card, only 2 points out of 10th. Jeff Gordon actually gained ground today on the top 10, and Tony Stewart drops to 13.
And we talked about it earlier, and Kyle in the opening, it's like right now these guys are so tight in between 11th and 17th in points. You say, well, who's in and who's out? I mean, it can something like that happened to Tony Stewart today. It can change in one race.
Jeff Burton jumped to 17th in the standings after finishing 3rd today. Let's go to Marty Snyder.
Wow, what a fun day for Jeff Burton. When's the last time you had that much fun behind the wheel of a race car?
That's a lot of work. We had a really good car. We thought Cat Chevrolet was as good as anybody. The 78 was better than everybody, but once he had his problems, and I think that opened the door for us. And just the cautions didn't fall quite the way we needed them to, but nonetheless, we had a good day, and proud of everybody. A lot of people giving up on this team and myself, but our Caterpillar and Cheerios and Chevrolet and all the people that help us so much, they haven't, and we haven't given up on ourselves either. We're going to keep working, and we don't feel like we're out of this thing. We feel like we know we got an uphill battle, but we feel like we still have a shot at it.
I was going to ask you personally, what does a top 5 like this mean, and a race where you ran in the top 5 all day long?
Well, honestly, last 2 months we've been running solidly in the top 10, really, really consistently, and we just hadn't gotten the finishes. At Kentucky we ran top 5 a lot and had a problem late. Sonoma we were running 8th and had a problem late, and those things just really hurt us. And early in the year, if there was a wreck on the racetrack, I got to it as quick as I could. I mean, it just seemed like every wreck that was out there, I was in it. And hopefully that's behind us, and now we can focus on the forward and just keep getting better.
Best finish of the year for Jeff Burton, 3rd today at New Hampshire.
And great job today, Marty. And we now wrapped up the summer 6-pack. Larry, your thoughts as we look back?
Well, I think looking back today, if you remember, one of our race analysis thought was in the pre-race was it could come down to that last call, and it certainly did, and that was, of course, Rodney Childers bringing Brian Vickers back to pit road to top that 55 car off with fuel. I think the other thing I note when I look at the top 5, Brad Keselowski maybe finally stopped the bleeding with a top 5 finish.
Wally, Kyle, your thoughts?
I don't know, man. I'd say a tip of the hat to Burton and Almirola and Bobby Labonte. 3 guys that we don't usually talk about had great days.
And these guys, too. Vickers did a great job today. We never talked about him being a favorite. He put a stamp on it.